Sometimes I take the structured approach and sometimes I just go with the flow.
The term might be new, but humanity has seen many Renaissance men, who include Leonardo da Vinci, who was active as a painter, draftsman, engineer, scientist, theorist, sculptor, and architect. While his fame initially rested on his achievements as a painter, he also became known for his notebooks, in which he made drawings and notes on a variety of subjects, including anatomy, astronomy, botany, cartography, painting, and paleontology. Leon Battista Alberti, who was an Italian Renaissance humanist.
A very good morning to you. You're welcome to the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Rome Paulson. Well, happy new month. It's the first day in the month of March. So today is Friday, the 1st of March. Can you believe how the time has flown? I mean, January and February went fast so quickly. And now we're in the month of March. I hope that the first quarter of your year has been off to a great start. And well, anything that you haven't achieved in January and February, just believe that you will achieve it in March, right? All right, today we're going to be looking at, some hot topics. One of them is why Nigeria needs decentralization by Wole Soyinka. Another is Wole Soyinka questioning Nigerian government's failure to prosecute Deborah Samuel's killers. Yeah. We'll also be taking some global stories making headline in the national dailies as well as some top trending stories as well. Well, but first, let's set the tone with our quote of the day. Just keep taking chances and having fun. And that is by Garth Brooks. He's an American singer and songwriter. And he says this morning, just keep taking chances and having fun. And yes, I mean, you need to have fun. That's the reason why we're giving you this quote today. It's Friday, so it's the weekend. The weekend is here, and it's time to, just let out your hair down and have fun. Keep taking chances. Anything that you can do, spot the opportunities, take chances, do not limit yourself. And while you're taking those chances, have fun with it. A lot of times, we're so fixated on whatever we want to do, and there's some form of pressure that comes with it. And so you never really think of the fun aspect of it. But then when you're doing stuff and you're not having fun, it's a little bit, it gives some form of restraint to you. So you can't even just spread your tentacles as much as you want. You can't really, express yourself as you would love to. And so that's why we're telling you this morning that you should just express yourself, take chances, seize every opportunity that you can get, and make sure that you're having fun with it. All right, let's move over to some top trending stories. Our first one this morning says, Power Minister seeks states involvement, says Abia enjoys 24 hours supply. Well, the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has called on states to be involved in the country's power distribution and supply. He stated this on Wednesday during a meeting with a forum of commissioners of energy made up of energy commissioners in the country. The minister explained in a statement by his media aide, Bolaji Tunji, that the involvement of states would create a healthy rivalry akin to the days of regional government. Adelabu drew attention to Abia State, where Geometrics Power Limited has established a 188 megawatts power generating plant supplying and distributing power to between 7 and 8 local government areas in the state. The minister also reiterated the federal government's commitment to tackling the nation's power challenges. Adelabu said efforts are being put in place to address the challenges in the sector, urging Nigerians to be patient with the federal government. It revealed that the government has acquired about 10 mobile power substations that could be moved to places where there are challenges or disruption due to the fault on the substation, advising the state governments to get involved in distribution networks in their states and to also bridge the meter gap. Also speaking, the chairman of the forum, who's also the Commissioner of Power and Energy, Cross River State, Prince Eka Williams, reaffirmed the unflinching support towards the outstanding vision, ideas, and the electricity reforms of the federal government. He said that the Electricity Act has given the states the responsibility of running the affairs of their electricity needs. Well, this is amazing. It's amazing that Abia, Aba, as we even call it, which is one of the most promising hub for our economy, is having 24-hour power. Who could have thought that we can have 24 hours power in Nigeria? Well, Aba has set the tone for other states, and I think it's a good thing. I really, really would love to see other states, honing their own way and just having to spring up different, power substations. It would be nice if I can get 24 hours power in my own house. So I'm hoping Lagos State will be up to the task. But I'm really, really happy for Aba. Kudos to their government, who has, done this 188 megawatts power station. So it's amazing, and I just hope that other states can do that, and one day, Nigeria can have 24 hours power. All right, another top trending story this morning says Southeast nominee rejects Tinubu's appointment. A nominee for membership of the Central Bank of Nigeria Board of Directors, Urom Kalu Eke, has declined the offer, stating that he was currently engaged in the World Bank. This came to the fore during the Thursday plenary when the Senate began the process for the confirmation of the nominees. President Bola Tinubu had on February 13 forwarded the names of Urom and 4 others for confirmation as members of the board for the CBN. However, during the confirmation, former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Kalu, APC Abia North, told the Senate that the person who is in his constituent had called him on the phone to reject the offer, noting that it would conflict with his present job as a consultant with the World Bank. Meanwhile, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of 4 other board members, board of directors of the CBN, forwarded to it by the president. Those confirmed by the Senate on Thursday as directors are Robert Agbede, Ado Yakubu Wanka, Professor Motala Sabo Sagagi, and Mrs. Muslimat Olanike Aliyu. The confirmation was sequel to the consideration of a report of the screening of the nominee presented by the chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions by the chairman, Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, APC Lagos East. According to Abiru, the committee did not clear Urom Kalu AK from Abia because he failed to appear before the committee for screening. I'm sure he has his reasons, because one of the reasons cited was the fact that it was going to conflict with his current job, which is a consultancy job with the World Bank. And I'm sure that hopefully that slot will be filled really soon, because, well, there are 4 people, but we still need 1 more person. And my question now is, I hope when they get there, they do what's right, because our economy is dwindling. So it's not just creating a board of directors for the CBN. We need economic reforms. So as you're being appointed for this, please, we need all of your expertise. We need the experience, everything that you've garnered over the years. We need that to be able to move Nigeria forward economically. So creating the board of directors is amazing, is good, is nice on paper, but what's the economy going to be like? That's the question. So we hope that they go there and they do what's necessary for the growth of Nigeria. All right, our final top trending story this morning says House of Reps wants mandatory drug tests for secondary school students. The House of Representatives has called on the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Ministry of Health to collaborate and develop a mandatory drug test program for secondary school students in Nigeria. The House also urged the National Orientation Agency and National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, to increase awareness about substance abuse among secondary school students nationwide. The committees on basic education and services and healthcare services were mandated to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. The House resolutions followed the adoption of a motion titled "Need to Introduce Mandatory Drug Testing for Secondary School Students in Nigeria," sponsored by Honorable Moshood Olarewaju Oshun during plenary on Thursday. The House noted that the adolescence is a critical period for drug abuse, influenced by factors such as experimental curiosity, peer pressure, poor socioeconomic conditions at home, and the need for extra energy for daily activities. It also noted that the youths are critical stakeholders in fostering socioeconomic development in the country, and their vulnerability to societal vices necessitates strategic government intervention to secure their well-being and enhance their contributions to national development. The House worried that substance abuse among young people was fast becoming a global public health concern, gradually leading to complications like personality disorders, drug dependence, and death. It also worried that according to studies which showed a notable prevalence of drug and substance abuse across secondary schools in Nigeria, 1 in every 4 students aged between 15 and 19 years abuse substances, and codeine containing syrup and tramadol topped the list of drugs, ranking higher than cannabis. The House said it was aware that Random Students Drug Testing, RSDT, is a drug prevention program whereby students are tested for recent use of illegal substances and is aimed at deterring drug use and identifying students who need help with staying drug-free. The House said it was cognizant that a mandatory routine and random drug testing for students is for preventive and not punitive measures or purposes, and early intervention is crucial for achieving success in tackling the menace of substance abuse. Well, this is one that I really, really love. I love to see this because there is a drug problem in Nigeria, and I've said that so many times. There is a drug problem in Nigeria. A lot of the young people are, hooked on substance abuse. A lot of people, if you go down your street, someone is taking some form of codeine or tramadol. Well, in the past, you would see, things like cannabis, marijuana. Those were the things people were taking, but now they've moved over that. It's something that they can easily buy, and then you don't get to smell on their hands. You're not, smelling that old fumes of the smoke and stuff. You don't get a whiff. And so they just quickly take this and they get high. And there is a serious problem that we need to tackle, which is, the use of substance abuse. And these are young kids, people from age 15, sometimes even younger than that. Sometimes, as early as 12 years old, they're already exposed to these things and they start to take them. And before you know, they're dependent on it, they're hooked on it. And, having to stop it is, quite difficult. And so I love the fact that, the legislature is looking at this. This is a good, in fact, these are things I would love to see, reforms that we'd love to see that would help, our society, that will help the children as well. A lot of schools have, gone into this. So some universities, they do this random drug testing, but that's university. But guess what? From 15 years old, they've already started this even before they get to the university. So having to cut all of that, is better to start from the root cause of the matter and say, okay, before you even get there to the university where we have to start testing you, we might as well just start now to ensure that we can cut this off and, have a better citizen, have a better children, have better children for the society, raising up good, knowledgeable, eloquent, smart kids that are not dependent on drugs. So kudos to the House of Reps. I love this, and I hope that, this pushes through. So yes, that's it for our top trending stories. We'll go on a short break. We'll look at the weather, and when we return, We'll be looking at what the national dailies are saying this morning. Please stay with us.
Sometimes, it's not just the distance we travel. It's the gaps we close. It's not the things we buy. It's the memories we create. Sometimes, it's beyond the places we go. It's the connections we make. Not just the things we taste. It's the taste of things to come. And it's never a question of if, but when. Because life is always just a bit better with American Express. Introducing the Access Bank American Express Gold Card and the Metal Platinum Card, now available through Access Bank.
Transportation in major cities in Nigeria has taken a different turn since the introduction of ride-hailing services enabled by technology. It has provided employment for many and made transportation easier and relatively cheaper. However, because of its peculiarity, the dynamic between drivers and passengers comes with its own conflicts. Drivers and passengers often complain about their interactions with one another. Many issues like courtesy on the part of passengers and drivers, being kept waiting for too long, where a passenger chooses to sit for the ride, the direction of the trip, and many more are some of the causes for conflict in this short relationship. Lawo, a hail ride driver, shares some of his experiences.
At times, some of them will set location. The map or the app will automatically give them another location. So by the time you get to the location, on the address, you call them, they tell you, sorry, I'm sorry, I should have told you. The map used to do like that, used to take people to another street, go and turn and come back. You know, that can be ridiculous. And at times, you know, the Lagos traffic, whatever, that the route you pass now, or probably before you even got through, it was hell. Now, having to go back, it can be very irritating.
How is this relationship supposed to be navigated? Mutual respect is key, and under no circumstances should riders or drivers disrespect the other. Riders should respect the vehicle they are in and should leave the vehicle in the condition in which they found it. Unruly behavior such as damaging the vehicle is not tolerated. Using bad language is also not tolerated. Being aggressive or discriminatory can also get a rider banned from using the app. Although friendly conversation doesn't do any harm during a trip, respect should be upheld at all times. Both riders and drivers should give each other space and should not make each other feel uncomfortable. Getting to a destination safely is a top priority. This is why drivers need to adhere to the rules of the road, for example, by sticking to the speed limit, not driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, not texting while driving. Drivers should always take a break if they are tired. Riders should play their part by wearing their seatbelts and not trying to cram in extra people when there aren't enough seatbelts. Riders also need to refrain from bringing alcohol or banned substances into the vehicle and should not ask a driver to go faster than the speed limit. As a rider, request your ride inside. To minimize the time that you're standing outside by yourself with your phone in your hand, instead, wait inside until the app shows that your driver has arrived. Check your ride. Every time you take a trip, ensure you're getting into the right car with the right driver by matching the license plate, car make and model, and driver photo with what's provided on your app. Have the driver confirm your name. In addition to the check your ride safety steps, you can also ask the driver to confirm your name before you get in the car. Your driver sees your first name in your app and your driver's first name is displayed to you in your app. Be a backseat rider. Whenever possible, sit in the back seat, especially if you're riding alone. This helps ensure that you can safely exit on either side of the vehicle to avoid moving traffic, and it gives you and your driver some personal space. Share your trip details with loved ones. While en route, tap Share Trip Status in the app to share your driver's name, photo, license plate, and location with a friend or family member. Be kind and respectful. Please respect fellow passengers and your driver and their car. As for drivers, here are the standard procedures required.
After a rider books a ride, you drive immediately to the location. And then until you get to the location, you don't click arrive, which most drivers, that is where they have their own faults too. So immediately they pick your ride, they click arrive. And normally, the app owners have given 5 minutes of grace. The moment you get to a place, after 5 minutes, the person doesn't come out. It will start charging the person a certain amount of money. So but by the time you click arrive, when getting to the location will take you 9 minutes, and you have clicked arrive. So 4 minutes into his own time, you have started charging him, and you have not.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. And right now it's time for Off the Press to look at what the national dailies are saying this morning. And joining me to discuss the papers is Jide Johnson, is a chief lecturer at Nigerian Institute of Journalism and is joining us from here in Lagos State. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining.
Good morning to our viewers all over the world. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month to you. Yeah. Glad to have you. All right, today we'll be starting with the Business NG. And, well, the first headline I want to take is up here. It's a small headline at the top. It says, economic hardship, PDP, LP, NNPP, others failing. And that was being said by Pat Utomi. What do you think about this? Do you think PDP, NNPP, LP should be blamed at this time? Because if they're saying they're failing, I mean, APC is currently the ruling party at the moment. So why is Pat Utomi coming out to say that the PDP, the Labour Party, and the NNPP, others are failing?
Well, I think what he's saying is that you need to provide constructive opposition, providing alternatives to what the present administration is doing. And if it's about that, I think that the presidential candidate of PDP and that of the Labour Party, they've offered alternatives to what the present administration is doing, giving their own view as regards what they intend to do if they are the one in power. So, as far as I'm concerned, the opposition has provided an alternative policy viewpoint. So I don't know the standpoint from which Professor Pat Utomi is making his judgment or is coming from. And I don't know how he came to that conclusion. Other than, I don't know what yardstick he used to come to that assertion that the opposition party are failing. What else do you expect from the opposition party to do, particularly that this is even a presidential system of government, not a parliamentary system of government, which invariably they have an opportunity in the parliament to hear their views, to share their opinions and their policy options as the alternate government. In presidential system of government, you can only ventilate from the outside, not even within the floor of the national of the parliament, or having your own alternate government, your own alternate cabinet. So I don't know the standpoint from which Professor Pat Utomi is coming from. Probably it's from a different planet from which we are in, and that's why he's blaming the opposition party for what is happening. If you want to blame anybody, I think the entire blame should go to the APC. APC has been in power for 9 years. So what has Labour got to do with that? And what has PDP got to do with that? I don't know.
So speaking about parliamentary system of government, there's been a debate that Nigeria should move to a parliamentary system of government. Currently, we run a presidential system of government, but people are saying that a parliamentary system of government might just be better because, like you've pointed out, other parties who have been elected can go there and air out their views. So do you think maybe that would just be a good way for Nigeria?
Well, whatever system of government you practice, it's just about the actors and the players in the system and their willingness to comply with the basic rules and tenets that govern that system of government. Whether parliamentary or presidential, it's people that will practice it, and it is guided by rules, norms, values, and the constitution, which is the grand norms of the practice. So if you are looking at parliamentary system of government, then you talk about the entire restructuring of the country. That means that we will not have governors at the state. That means that we might even be going back to regional government. Rather than have 36 state governors, probably we might be having six premiers and then probably mayor for Lagos and Abuja. As far as I'm concerned, whichever system we think is the Nigerians in totality should have a say in it. We could probably have a referendum to ask Nigerians whether we want a parliamentary system of government or presidential system. The presidential system of government, it is not the system, it is the way you operate the system that really matters. However, parliamentary system of government will give the opposition an opportunity to have an alternate government, and you compare the complexity and the diversity of the Nigerian nation. I think that we're well suited to a parliamentary system of government, because in presidential system of government, it's a zero sum, it's a winner takes all. But in parliamentary system of government, you tend to have the opposition having their own presence and having their own stay. In government, for example, we had operated the parliamentary system of government. In the last election, you discover that all parties, at least we have a presence in the national, as we speak, all parties have presence in the National Assembly, which is the legislature. And then in the executive, they also have some semblance of presence, because the parliament, which is the bedrock of parliamentary system of government, where the minister is first and foremost the lawmaker before he becomes the prime minister, first among the equal, among those he is selected to be in his cabinet. Then the opposition too, we have that opportunity to have their own alternate cabinet. So it's something we can look at, because we have tried this presidential system of government for close to quarter of a decade now, and it seems that everything seems to be completely centralized. Power is almost concentrated in one individual, and that individual is becoming bigger and bigger than every other institution in the country, and that's the president. That's the presidency. So the presidency is becoming more and more overwhelming with tremendous power. Sovereignty tends to reside now with the presidency and not with the people, and power is concentrated in the presidency and not among the three organs of government: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. Invariably, we have seen that in modern times, the legislature has become an appendage, an extension of the executive, and also the judiciary has also become an appendage and extension of the judiciary. A situation whereby you see the head of the judiciary bound before the chairman of the national party and kowtowing, attending events called by governors, called by the executive. Is an indication that, well, one of the organs is supreme than every other organ. So I think parliamentary system of government will be an option, but Nigerians have to decide whether this is what they want or what they don't want. I don't want a situation whereby some group of intellectuals or some group of elites will sit down and say, okay, this is what we want for Nigeria. Because what we are practicing today, we're just 12 wise men sitting down in one place, reviewing what was done in the confab of 1995 and coming up with the 1999 constitution, in which even Obasanjo, that was sworn in as the first president of that constitution, did not even see the constitution the day he was sworn in. It was much more later that he saw the constitution with which he came to power. So it's a conversation we must have.
Well, so one thing that you said is the actors and the players in this. So regardless of whatever system of government, it's the same makeup of the people that are being elected. So regardless, if we want to have a better system of government, even in the presidential system, we can. It's just the makeup of the actors and the players. Anyway, so staying on the fact that, you know, the opposition parties are supposed to have an alternative solution for Nigerians, especially with what's going on. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, had said that the CBN's 22.75% interest rate will worsen the economic situation. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know what you want. How do you want to build the economy with double-digit interest rate? I don't know how you intend to build the economy with double-digit interest rate. I don't know how you want to provide credit to build the base. The backbone of your economy is the productive sector, is the industrial sector, the capacity to grow your gross domestic product, and then in such a way that you can favorably compete by exporting whatever you have produced in excess in your country to other countries in order to earn foreign exchange earning, by focusing on your comparative advantage in international trade. So I don't understand, and I don't know why the central bank will come up with this double-digit 22.1%, almost 25% interest rate. So if I want to go and get credit in order to start a business or to inject into my business, if I get a credit of 2 billion, that means I'll be paying the interest rate of 225 million. Who are those that are going to bear the brunt of the interest rate which I'm going to pay? It is the ordinary people. Invariably, you are also contributing to the inflation, because what do I do when I invest that? Excuse me, please. When I inject that into my businesses, I want to pay back that money and then be able to pay back the loan of the bank so that the state does not come after me, just like the state of New York went after Donald Trump.
Well, so one thing that is a little bit worrisome for me is for people who do businesses, they told you that your markup, your profit margin should be about 30% thereabout. So if my markup is going to be about 30% and I need to pay back a loan of 22.75%, then how much am I really making? Why am I in business? What am I going to make any profit at all? So those are like questions that burning questions that I have, because I'm like, why am I even going to do this business, or why would I even want to take a loan? And I expect that you're here as a government to help me. But anyways, moving on from that, this still has to do with some economic situation. Nigeria imposes annual levy on companies employing foreigners. So what do you think about this one, the fact that Nigeria is imposing annual levies on these companies?
Well, I think what this administration is good at is about imposing levy, imposing taxation, and removing a subsidy, and looking for a way. It's very clear then if you look at the antecedent of the president, if you look at where it's coming from, and if you look at the template which Lagos State has operated, where he is the godfather and the benefactor of those that have succeeded him since 1999, you understand that it's a template about taxation, it's a template about levies, and it's a template about increasing the revenue base of the country, and then without having a recourse to study the
But is that a right way to increase revenue?
No. It's without looking at the consequent effect it has on the overall economy. I can tell you for a fact, because I have an understanding of this particular implication. What was the implication of the various taxation, double taxation levies imposed by Lagos State government on the business sector and industrial sector in Lagos State? Just take a trip to Ikeja Industrial Estate, take a trip to Ilupeju Industrial Estate, and look at those estates and look at where those companies are. And then you take a trip to Lagos Ibadan Expressway, you look at your left between Lagos and Shagam and see the kind of companies springing up, or you go to Agbara Industrial Estate, or you go where company left Lagos to go to, and some of them left to go to Ghana. So the implication of this is that if there's over-taxation, people will look out for better places where they could do businesses. And now it's a competition between the states. And I just want to use an example. In the United States of America, there's double taxation in California, in New York, and you see a lot of businesses moving to Florida, moving to Tennessee, moving from Delaware to states whereby they enjoy tax relief havens. And that's the beauty. What government does is you create an enabling environment. You provide tax relief for people that are running businesses. One, they provide employment opportunity for your citizenry. Government cannot employ how many people can government employ in government established ministries and department of agencies? It is this private individual that have invested their money in the economy that actually employ the largest chunk of the people. So what they are providing service for you, for your citizen, and at the same time helping government to create employment opportunity, relieving the burden on government with respect to meeting up with the demands of the citizenry with regards to government providing them with employment opportunity. So if you want to tax them to death, you don't muzzle the ox. I see taxation as muzzle the ox. When in other climes, they are trying to reduce the taxes imposed on businesses operating in their country, and they are trying to get best hand to handle their business so that the business can grow tremendously and they have opportunity to grow the economy, grow their businesses, and employ as many people as possible, reduce poverty and unemployment in the country. You don't stifle such with levies and the rest of it. And then if you are saying that you want to encourage foreign investment, you can't be saying that you're imposing heavy levies on expatriates or foreigners that are coming to your country. If I'm coming from India and I'm coming to invest in Nigeria, I'm coming from China, I'm coming to invest in Nigeria, I think there will be some Chinese or Indians or Americans, regardless of where which nationals are coming to come and work here. So on one hand, government is saying that we are traveling all over the world to encourage foreign investment. Presently, the president has gone to Qatar. Now, if Qatar wants to make investment in Nigeria now, just like Qatar has made serious investment in the real estate businesses in United Kingdom, and Qatar is coming to do that in Nigeria, and you now say, okay, you can't bring your nationals. If you are bringing your nationals, we are going to impose this burden. I don't know, this countervailing policies that government comes up with, I don't understand whether there is synergy among all the agencies of government when it comes to encouraging businesses to come to Nigeria.
Well, let's see how that turns out. I'm going to take another headline, which is now the major headline on the Business NG, and it says, hardship, Soyinka backs Nigeria's decentralization as hunger, poverty persists. Now, taking it over to the Punch, the major headline on the Punch, because he was speaking at the 50th anniversary of the Punch, and it says, past confirms deceitful, Nigeria must decentralize, says Soyinka. The writers here are past confirm, organizers not serious. Nigerians must negotiate their unity, and that is being said by the Nobel laureate. So what do you think about this? In 2014, former President Goodluck Jonathan had a national conference, bringing people from all political affiliations and just talking about restructuring the country. And some recommendations were made, but over a decade, there's still nothing to show for it. So what do you think about Soyinka coming out to say we need to decentralize? Because one of the things he even cited was security. What do you think about this?
Well, yours truly, I was at that lecture from the beginning to the end, so I got a first-hand experience of what the Nobel laureate shared with respect to his views, and I love the gap that he threw the gap at those that are the aims of affairs. So it was a rude awakening to some of us that were there, considering some of the issues that he has raised in the last 1 year. And so I pointed out that whether what do we call restructuring or what have you, it's not about it. He says
he prefers the word restructuring and decentralization.
It's about narrative, and he said that there's a need for us to decentralize power. There's a need to give opportunities to Nigerians to determine what they want, and then if decentralization will lead to Nigeria disintegrating, and then it will save Nigerians from being hungry, then it is better for us to decentralize. That it's even better for Nigerians to die than for Nigeria to die than for Nigerians to die of hunger and poverty. And I seem to share his views and opinion with respect to this. Like I said earlier, there's too much power that we have concentrated at the center. On a monthly basis, the governors will go to Abuja for the monthly fact meeting. It's not done anywhere in the world. You go on monthly basis, so you share the money for the state and the local government. So you have to all concentrate in Abuja. There's too much concentration of power in Abuja. There's the need for us to decentralize, and there's the need for us to give power to the other power centers at the local government and at the state level. And there's the need for us to domesticate some of the things we are doing at the national level. It is not good for you to have a centralized police system. You can't fight security with decentralized. The bureaucracy is just too much. You have to bring it down to community level, wherever you have some semblance of community policing. And he said that the challenge we have had is that there have been series of meetings we have had, series of confab we have had, but there's no sincerity on the part of those that have called for those meetings to implement. And then he said he hoped that those at the aims of affairs today will look at the issue of decentralization, that's giving power back to the constituent units that made up the Nigerian nation. And I seem to share it was a well attended lecture, well delivered lecture, and then it was a wonderful experience for me as a person, and it was also a national discourse that should open up the conversation moving forward with respect to what the National Assembly, the 10th Assembly, will do with constitutional amendment, which has always been what they've been doing since, and which is also an opportunity for them to make money. Because when you set up the constitutional amendment, you send up different committees, they travel through the length and breadth of Nigeria, they get public hearing. At the end of the day, what effect does it have on the constitution that you have amended? And that's why I've said, regardless of whatever system we practice, it is not the system, it is the people that practice the system that makes the system to work.
Okay, so Wole Soyinka, Professor Wole Soyinka, a few months ago he had said that he's not going to judge President Tinubu's administration till he's a year in office. So him coming out to say this, talking about poverty and hunger in the land, talking about decentralization, is President Tinubu is still not a year in office? Do you think he should be talking about this now? Because we would have thought that, he would just stay to his words and say till 1 year in office.
Yeah, well, once you look at the platform, the moment you accept to be the guest lecturer of one of the major flagship newspapers we have in the country, which is the Punch newspaper, and going by the Punch, you should expect punches to be thrown at that level. So it is not out of place for Professor Wole Soyinka to throw some punches, because we had Punch 50th anniversary, and what
I like that.
So I think the platform provided the opportunity for him to cascade everything that he probably is been viewing, that he's been waiting till me to share with Nigerians, because the platform sometimes provides you with the opportunity to say some things which other platform might not put. Which better platform would you have had to say to give an overview of the entire Nigerian nation? It's about the narrative concerning the Nigerian nation, and then he provided a wonderful perspective in which through participants from all political parties, both past and present, people that have been in government, people from academia, and people from the media industry. So it was a wonderful experience. I did enjoy my time, and it was a wonderful experience. So nobody should be surprised at the punch and that was thrown by Professor Wole Soyinka. Even the compare for the program, two punches at the Oba of Lagos, and then 2 punches at Obasanjo and the rest of it. So it was a lively event. It was a high-up-now event. It was a time for reflection on where we were as a nation 50 years ago when Punch newspaper came into existence, and where we are now as a nation 50 years after. And moving forward, what are the things that we need to look at, and what are the things that we need to do with respect to our nationhood, the Nigerian question, which we have always run away from answering. And this is time for us to answer that question. We must, as a matter of fact, as a matter of urgency, address the Nigerian question. There is too much power in Abuja. We need to give power back to other power centers in the country.
All right, so speaking of things to look at, another thing to look at is the Oronsaye report. Reps raised 23-man panel on Oronsaye report demand review. What do you think about this one? Some people have come out to say that the report might just be outdated, that is not what we need at the moment, and proper review should be done before we can even say we want to adopt it. What do you think?
So if they are saying that the report is outdated, what do you say about 1999 Constitution?
That's a good one.
What do you see? What do you see about the holy books that two of the major faiths we have in the world they use as the base of their worship, the Bible and the Quran? Are they outdated? Are they not relevant? The essence is that when you had that report, when you had that set up that committee, as something changed in Nigeria, government has changed. The structure of government still remains the same. We still practice presidential system of government. In actual sense, we have even have multiplicity of agencies being created, rather than reducing the agencies which we have. The agencies of government have multiplied rather than reduced. So what do? You look at the report, and then you review the report, and then you implement what the report is. One of the instructive things about the report is, for example, I give you, this is even personal to my heart, Federal Radio Corporation and Voice of Nigeria, and two agencies of government under the Ministry of Information that will be merged. So why should that not? Why should that not?
There's
be
even the
happened?
EFCC and the ICPC as well.
EFCC and ICPC. What is you can have different units under the same agency, one agency head, one headquarter. So all of these things, if you look at all of these, and then you have an understanding that, oh wow, there's a need for us to do that beyond the rhetorics of government, beyond taking away our attention and distracting us that government really wants to do something. Because what I've just seen is that, well, they threw that into the public domain to distract us a little, to let us know that where government is intending to do something, the Onsen report, government is going to implement it. And then the first thing you need to look at is to look at the entourage of the president that said in the week preceding his traveling to Qatar, and considering what he has said that moving forward, his entourage will not be more than 20 when he wants to go for travel. Then you look at his entourage to Qatar, and then you see government will say one thing on one hand, and government will be doing something differently. And that's why this government over time has lost confidence. People have lost confidence in government. Government has found it difficult to earn public trust and understanding. So the public does not have an understanding of what government is doing. As a result of that, the public opinion of government is at its lowest ebb.
Well, so, I mean, for me, I love the fact that, they are going to have to, come together, for instance, the EFCC and the IPC, the FRCN. It's great, but I'm a bit concerned about people's jobs because we know what the economy is saying right now. So people having to lose their jobs because if there is a duplicate, agency, that means the moment they merge into one, two people are not going to have the same office or the same position. So what does that mean for other people, that have to lose their jobs? How are they going to bounce back is a question.
What about those that don't have jobs presently?
But then we're going to now have a lot more people that are without jobs.
What we are saying invariably is that people shouldn't be making this country at the expense of others. And once you have that merger and acquisition, it is those that are redundant. If it is not politicized, it is those that are redundant that will be excused from service, and those that have spent, let's say, 30 years, that remain 5 years for them to retire from the civil service, that will be paid off. We have had mergers of government agencies and the rest of it in the past. So people should not entertain any fears. He that goes to equity must surely goes to equity with clean hands and not be scared of anything. So if you have been diligent, dutiful, and disciplined in your conduct in your respective assignment and duty schedule, you shouldn't be scared of what government. We need to do that. It's very clear that there is duplicity and multiplicity of agencies of government. Once you do that, then government creates an enabling environment for others to be absorbed into other sector. For example, what's the essence of NDDC and the Nigerian police? I'm asking you, what's the essence? The civil defense corps and then the Nigerian. What's the difference?
There's even another one, kick against something, Kai. There's another one like that.
That's even Lagos. Kick against indiscipline in Lagos. You had last month. And then you see the kick against discipline in Lagos going from one market or the other. Yeah. And then you have this what do they call these workers at the local government? We used to call them wuli wuli while we were young. So you see, you just create avenue for that's why the recurrent expenditure of the government is higher than the capital expenditure in every budgetary allocations and budget plans that we have had, because you have too much personnel. Money that should have gone to developing the economy, building the economy, goes to pay salaries and wages and allowances to some few individuals that are making the system. If some people have to make sacrifices for us to move forward, I think it's time for us to do that.
All right. So let's still talk about the economy and how it is. President Tinubu was in Lagos, inaugurating the Red Line trains that we have in Lagos right now. And he said something. So on The Nation, the headline here says, Tinubu, Labour's constant strike calls unacceptable. So he took a jab at Labour and he says, how do you call for strikes in how many months? You can't be doing this, is unacceptable. What do you think about that? Do you think that's just mimicking them and saying, oh, yes, you're all talks and no action, because you come, you call a strike, and then you say, okay, we're back to negotiations, the strike is called off, and you see this happen repeatedly. What do you think? Do you think that now the government don't even... they don't respect labor as much as they should, because they know that the moment you call a strike, after a while, you will call it off regardless?
Well, I think that the president is just playing politics with Labour with what he said. It's not within the purview of his authority and power to say that Labour, whatever Labour is doing is unacceptable to him. He's not an emperor, he's the president, and Labour has its own rights to protest or to call for strike at any point in time, which they feel is necessary. But however, the actions of Labour in the last 9 months have shown that they have been on serious element, quote unquote. That's my opinion, in the sense that they will call for the strike and they themselves will call off the strike. The president should even be commending Labour that, well, they've called for strike, but they've not actually carried out those strikes because my team are negotiating with them every time they want to go on strike. We find reasons to come together to ensure that things are resolved before it degenerated to strikes, lockouts, and vandalization and looting of properties. Because by the time you call for strikes and then it turns to rally, protest, and the rest of it gets out of control, with nobody having control over those other elements that will hijack all of this. So as far as I'm concerned, it was trying to gab at Labour, and it should not embolden Labour to take something which is drastic, which is not good for the economy. We want the economy to recover. Thank God the economy has not gone into recession, but at least the economy is in depression. So we need to understand that the way the people has given responsibility to have managed Labour, to the extent that Labour called off strike concerning removal of fuel subsidy, concerning providing palliative for the workers, concerning the minimum wage which they promised that is going to be reviewed, concerning the 35,000 which they promised they will pay to all federal workers across all levels, which they have not done, and Labour yet has not gone on major full-blown strike. The president shouldn't be throwing gap. He that lives in glass houses does not throw stones, because if you throw stones, if they respond to the stones which you throw, your house will crack.
All right, let's move over to some security matter as well. I would like to call it that. The Oni, right, has said something here. It's a small headline on The Nation. It says, it's time to protect yourselves with spiritual powers. Oni tells Obas. What do you think about this? Nigeria is not so great when it comes to security at the moment, and now we have to go spiritual. What do you think?
Well, I think that if you want to eat too, you don't need to eat physical food. You just provide yourself with spiritual power to eat, to substitute for food. Yeah. Then if you want to travel, you don't need to use aeroplane. You don't need to use cars. You don't need to use those modern. And then you use Egbe. Since we have in Yoruba, we have Egbe. So if you want to travel to London, you just use Egbe. You just close your eyes and then you use the spiritual power that will transport you from Nigeria to. Sometimes when these people talk, you just wonder what informs their thought pattern and how ridiculous sometimes some of the ideas they are coming up with. In this age and modern time, where he travels, they drive the best of the cars, they live in the best of the houses, they eat the best of the food, they have access to the best of Medicare, and they are not using, I'm not sure he uses Agbo all the time. There are some supplements that he's using. All you just need to do is to take a trip into his kitchen and into his dining room and dining space, and then you see what he eats and then what he drinks. And they are not drinking emu, they are drinking imported wine. They are drinking imported cognac. So not just ordinary whiskey, and then they are talking about spiritual power when it comes to security. Sometimes they take us for a fool and they take us for a ride. I don't, it's just that I've said it, I don't know which program which I said it, that we need to hold traditional rulers accountable for the issue of security. If you're a traditional ruler and your domain is not secured, what traditional authority do you have over that domain? If you don't have intelligence to help the intelligence agencies in fishing out the bad elements within your domain, and people in your domain are not coming up with intelligence to know. Look, I tell you for a fact, where you have insurgencies and where you have kidnapping and the rest of it, there are locals that are aiding and abetting these people. what are the locals doing with respect to providing security agencies with intelligence? And what are the traditional rulers, they themselves, doing to provide security agencies with intelligence? And how have the traditional rulers win the trust and the confidence of the people, that the people will come to them and provide them with information that they can provide to security agencies in tackling the incessant security challenges we have in this country? So these are the areas you should be looking at, and these are the areas that traditional rulers should be looking at, rather than be talking that we should be using EKPE and the rest of it to fortify ourselves. I don't know how many people that have access to it. I believe there are spiritual powers, there's no doubt about that. But the challenge we have in Africa is that it's not documented. And all of these things were not documented, was not shared. Because it was not documented, we have lost track of all of these spiritual powers. The white people use their spiritual powers to create computer, which when I tell my students, what's the difference between putting water in calabash and then what we are doing through Zoom now? Or painting the wall white, and then you call the image of somebody to appear. We have those spiritual powers, but it was not documented, it was not shared. So there's no difference between a Zoom or Skype or video call and then putting water in calabash and calling the image of somebody to talk to those persons. But we didn't share it. Some people kept it to themselves. So there's nothing we can do about that. If the Oni has access to some of the spiritual powers, because it's the paramount ruler, is the progenitor of the Yoruba race, if you had access to it, let it become a common knowledge. Let them document it so that each and every one of us will have the EKPE. I wouldn't mind to have EKPE so that when I travel, I'll just say, hey, boom, Ibadan. And then I find myself in Ibadan. And then I go to America. I'll just use EKPE to enter White House to shake Joe Biden's hand. Hey, President Biden.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Okay, let's move over to Nature News. The major headline here says Wike sets to inaugurate Africa's largest water park in Abuja. Is this what we should be talking about? We have an economy that is just, we don't know where we are. It's so unstable at the moment. And then the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, is talking about building the largest water park in Africa. Fine. Don't get me wrong. I know that this would, become a tourist attraction, but with tourism in every country, you need security for that. And security in Abuja is not even the best at the moment. So should we be talking about a water park or looking for how we can, just jumpstart our economy to ensure that it's thriving?
If you don't do projects, you don't make money in public service. That's the reality. And then look at them. And the major projects governors, even presidents over time have embarked upon on infrastructure and basic infrastructure. When government is coming to tell you that we've constructed roads, we've constructed bridges, we've constructed schools and the rest of it, they tell you about infrastructure, which I call the APC of public service and public governance, because all you just need to do, once the money is there, you give it to a simpleton who approves, come with the design, get the engineer, come with the design, and then there's money, you allocate funds to those projects. Anybody, quote unquote, any simpleton can get it done. And the serious business of government in providing employment, in building the economy in such a way that you can grow the economy, that will enable private investors to invest, and you build the economy, you grow the economy, you create employment, you create employment opportunities for your citizenry, you invest in agriculture to have food security and the rest of it. We don't embark on that. You look at P.K. Style when he was governor of Rivers State, what are the projects that he embarked upon? Construction of roads and bridges and flyovers, rather. Construction of roads and flyovers. And that he has brought to Abuja again. Why does Abuja need the largest water park? What do we need that for? The major problem, as the Minister of FCT, what should be his priorities? The major problem which he has is to take care of the security of Abuja and restore Abuja back to its master plan. The water park is not, the parks in Abuja, are they fully utilized now? The present parks. Because I recall when Ali Rufai was minister, he created a lot of gardens. He tried to restore Abuja back to its former, to its proper master plan. And then there were a lot of gardens. The one in Abuja, are they being fully utilized now? Now to talk of creating an outlandish white elephant project, which require a lot of. So if you are building the largest water park in Africa, you get the largest fund for it, and then for the next 3 years, you keep budgeting for it because you have set an outlandish goal, and then it becomes a pipe bomb through which you siphon public funds. I'm not, as far as I'm concerned, is it water park? Let me use the president gap. Now water park people chop. See now water park people go chop, and I've been at water park to protect people for Abuja. I beg. Second base,
it's tourism, but yeah.
Immediate term. Let's go to second base.
Sometimes my concern here is, could it even be an ego play? Because when people come into power, most times they want to say, oh, I made this, I created this was my project. And so working in my head, I'm like, could it be that Wike wants to say, oh, I went to Abuja and this was me, I created this, just to have that legacy that, in years to come, they're like, oh, yes, Wike was the one who brought up this idea, executed it. Well, there's that. And there's also the part of just having to siphon money. Well, we never know. Anyways, this is where we have to drop in.
To what extent and to what purpose? Pet projects, behaving like kids, having pet projects. So it's, public service is not for you to go after your pet project or to build your personal pride or image. It's about service.
I agree.
In the best interest of the people. Right. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. It's always, a good time having you and just coming to share your valuable contributions. Thank you for reviewing the paper with me this morning.
It's a pleasure to share the platform with a beautiful lady, starting the month on a smiling note.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. All right, we've been speaking to Jide Johnson, is a chief lecturer at Nigerian Institute of Journalism, who's joining us here in Lagos State. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at our first hot topic. Please stay with us.
Picture this. You're sitting at a table, ready to indulge in a mouth-watering meal. Stop. For many of us, it is hard to resist the temptation, especially when it comes to enjoying a juicy beef dish. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of your food choices on the greater good? Our food choices have a great impact on others. The beef industry is one of the leading contributors to deforestation. As trees are cleared to make way for cattle ranching, it not only disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, but also contributes to climate change. We can make a difference with our choices. It does not mean we all have to become vegans overnight. Imagine enjoying fish and poultry a few times a week, indulging in beef just once a month, and filling our plates with plenty of plant-based goodness. Every little bit counts. And even small reductions in our intake can make a huge impact on the climate. By making smarter food choices, we're not only taking care of ourselves, but also the planet we call home. Remember, the choices we make today lead to a better tomorrow.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize.
Returning powers to the subnational government. I will say no to splitting or breaking up Nigeria into different pieces. And the reason why I say no is that the recent history of African nations that has splitted, the end result has been war. So I hope that the Nobel laureate understands that the problem that Nigeria is facing now is political leaders who are not empathetic of the people, who take political office as a business where they can go in and grab as much as they can within their tenures in office. And after their tenures in office, they want to remain in one office or the other. So you will see a governor today, after he has finished being a governor, he wants to become a senator. And after that, he wants to contest for president. I hope the Nobel laureate understands that this is the biggest problem in Nigeria today. Political leaders who are not empathetic with the people, who think that political office is a tool to enrich themselves. If we split Nigeria under this kind of terms, to say all the 6 geopolitical zones go your separate ways, and the political leaders that are going to those geopolitical zones are the same political leaders that are superintending over Nigeria now, nothing is going to change. Nothing. I can assure the Nobel laureate that nothing will change. So if, for instance, the Southeast today becomes a country of its own, and the governors of the Southeast are the governors that we have today in the Southeast, who are not delivering good governance, but filling their pockets. And the governors in the North Central are doing the same. Same with governors in the Southwest, South, Northeast, North Central. What's going to change? Nothing is going to change. So what the Nobel laureate must be advocating for is leadership recruitment. We need to get leadership recruitment right. In this same country, we have competent, compassionate leaders with capacity to do the job. The problem is that we are not putting them in office. And so the people who end up putting in office are not the ones who are going to do the job. So on that account, that would be my input in what the Nobel laureate has said. On the account of releasing power to the subnational government, I agree with him. I keep saying this thing that we call ourselves, our official name is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we are not operating a federation. We are actually operating a unitary system of government. So we call ourselves a federal republic, and we are practicing unitary system of government. Because you see, we have a constitution where about 68 or so items on that constitution are exclusively reserved to the federal government. What sort of federation is that? Like the United States, where we copy the democracy from, we know what the states can do. The states are in charge of their economies, they're in charge of their police, they're in charge of their, in fact, the states in America send money to the center. Not the other way around in Nigeria, where the federal government sends money to the states and local governments. So you can see the anomaly there, yeah? So on that count, I agree totally with the Nobel laureate that our constitution, in fact, you see, we don't have a constitution. The constitution begins with the words, we, the people of Nigeria, haven't agreed to come together as one nation, blah, blah, blah. Please, this constitution that we're operating now, when did the people of Nigeria come together to make this constitution? This constitution was handed down to us by the military rulers And those military rulers, both General Babangida and General Abacha, they were intent on, we used to call it then, transmuting from khaki to agbada. So even as they wanted to wear agbada, they didn't want to release power to anybody. They wanted to hold on to maximum power, just like they were when they were in khaki. And that is the constitution that tragically we have operated for 25 years. So if we really want to get it right, we need to bring this constitution and actually fashion a constitution that will reflect us as a federal republic, a constitution where the local government will be empowered, the states will be empowered, and the federal government will only be dealing with about 6 items, which will be defense, foreign policy, monetary policy, and issuance of currency, issuance of passport, like that. That should only be the role of the federal government. Every other thing should be at the states. And in that case, you will not see development coming up, because it's not all states that are going to be this bad as we have a federal government. Because right now, if you have a president who is not delivering, the whole Nigeria will not deliver, because powers are rested in that president. But if you have 36 state governors with so much powers to develop their states, perhaps maybe about 20 of them can be delivering the goods. If the other 16 are not, but Nigeria will actually be a better place. So that's why I say yes or no in my response to what the Nobel laureate said.
So a lot of people have, always cited the fact that there is so much power in the center, and that the only way we can start to grow is to ensure we decentralize that power that is in the center. And from what you've said, you said yes and no. But now, so let's just say, okay, for instance, we have this decentralization. How can we start to benefit from it? Because decentralization is one thing, but are we going to benefit from it? So is there going to be more investors coming in for maybe the local investment of the state? Is there also going to be, maybe for instance, a state police that we've been talking about for a while, because that's also some form of decentralization of power from the IGP of police. So it's not just in the center. Is there going to be that? What other benefits can we start to see if we go ahead to implement this decentralization?
Benefits are going to be humongous. If we actually get a people-oriented constitution that devolves power as to the subnational governments, the states and local governments, the benefits are going to be humongous. Let me give you one example. Let's say security.
Yeah.
Today, we call the state governors the chief security officers of their states. But no commander, no single commander in that state reports to the governor. The commissioner of police reports to the IG, who reports to the president. The commander of the civil defense reports to the commandant of civil defense, who reports to the president. The commander of the DSS in that state reports to the DG of DSS, who reports to the president. All the security architecture in the state, they report to the federal. Yet we are calling the governor a chief security officer of his state. If we decentralize power and the states are now responsible for their security, you will now see that some state governors, even if it's not all of them, some state governors are going to invest heavily in security, get their police to work, both in terms of crime prevention and crime control if crime happens. And for those states, you begin to see a flood of investment coming to the state, because people will feel safe going to those states. Right now, we have a single inspector general of police. If that inspector general of police is incompetent, is not effective, has no capacity, the entire 36 states and the FCT of the Nigerian police will be incompetent without capacity. Because one man sitting in Abuja, who is their leader, is incompetent. But if you have 36 state commissioners of police and the FCT, all of them reporting to their governors, you will see that some of them, if not most of them, are going to be doing the work of keeping their state safe. And that would then mean that parts of Nigeria will become much safer than what we have today. Let me give you an example. When states are being fed by the federal government, as it is happening today, you will expect that they will be lazy. Because even me, who is sitting here, if my father, even now that he's not alive, he has set up an endowment where every month I get like 5 to 10 million naira into my account. Do you think I will work? Will I work now? Why will I work? When 10 million naira alert is going to come every month, I will just be cruising. But if you allow states to generate their revenue and spend it, look, you will discover that every state will now start looking inwards. What do I have? If you go to the United States, you know, we heard the news, the tragic news of the chopper crash of that had on board the Access CEO of the Access Holdings. You know where they were going? They were going to Las Vegas. You know, do you know what happens in Las Vegas? Las Vegas is in a state called Nevada in the U.S. Do you know about this state? This state, for the benefit of our viewers who don't know, is desert land. The state is totally desert. The Nevada desert covers the state. So this state has no land, nothing to try and survive. You know what they did? Because there is no big papa at the federal government to send them money. They decided to develop tourism. And that is why you can go and make your money in the other states. Then you bring it to Las Vegas and spend it. And that money, so like you take $10,000 into Las Vegas, you will leave that money in Las Vegas and carry yourself and go back to wherever you're coming from. And that is how they are surviving. This is the kind of ingenuity that will come, even in states here in Nigeria. But once you leave them to their distance, like I'm in Benue State here, you know that no governor of Benue State in the past 25 years has given attention to agriculture. As I speak today,
and it's the food basket of the nation.
Yes, let me tell you that food basket is empty. That food basket is empty for twin problems.
Wow.
The first problem is that the farmers are using manual labor. And manual labor is not going to produce much. But even with the manual labor, a large swatch of farming communities have been driven away by insecurity from their farming communities. And the state governor has no police of his to send to go and clear the bandits, to allow the farmers to work. So if you decentralize power now and say that, Mr. Governor, you are in charge of your security. Of course, you know the state governor is going to invest in security to ensure that his state is safe.
Yeah.
And Mr. Governor will suddenly see the fertile land in his state and start investing in it so that he will start making money from the agriculture that will now be booming. Because he knows that there will be no money coming from the center. And if he doesn't take creative measures to survive, he will be dead. So this is the reason why the decentralization is going to be very good.
But when this happens, right, with what you've just cited, couldn't it be that some states will start to flourish, you know, even more than the others? How about, you know, states that cannot do so much, you know, agriculture or look for other things? I just don't want a situation whereby there's envy and rivalry between different states because they're not playing on the same field.
It's absolutely fine. It is better that in Nigeria we have some states that are doing better than others than to have a Nigeria totally that is not doing well. So in terms of holistic numbers, for us it's better that out of 36 states you have 20 doing well and 16 are not doing well instead of 36 that are not doing well now. So that is the kind of thing that will happen. But so once you decentralize and some states begin to do well, indigenes of the states that are not doing well will start putting pressure on their political leaders. Like say if Benue now industrializes agriculture and Benue is now producing a lot of food, their farmers are becoming millionaires and billionaires. And Nasarawa State, the neighboring state, or Taraba, is not doing same with their rich, fertile arable land. You know that the indigenes in those states will be putting pressure on their leaders. You say, why can't you see what's happening in Benue and then you leave us in poverty? That is what we need. We need citizens to put pressure on the elected representatives and leaders at all levels for us to enjoy this democracy.
Okay, but walk me through, you know, with every implementation, right, there's always the people who would actually have that pushback and say, oh, no, this is not what we want, this is not what we need. For instance, a lot of people have been talking about a parliamentary system of government instead of the presidential system of government. And you hear people say, oh, no, that's not what we need. We like where we are. A lot of times people are scared to make any change in particular. So do you walk me through the potential challenges that could be with this? I mean, we're saying we need to decentralize, but are there potential challenges that we could possibly face when it comes to decentralization?
So for me, when people talk about parliamentary system and the presidential system that we're running, I try to make the analogy that a Mercedes-Benz and a BMW, they are both good cars, and they are serving those that buy them.
Yeah.
But if you have a bad driver, then it's regardless of which car you give him. If you give him a Mercedes-Benz, he will crash it.
Right.
If you give him a BMW, he will crash it.
That's right.
You know, so this thing is more about the people operating the system. This same presidential system that doesn't seem to be working well for us is working well for the United States. And this is where we actually want to copy it. The parliamentary system is also working in places like the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and all of that. You understand? Yeah. So it's not really about the system. It's about the operators of the system. So if Nigeria today switches from the presidential system to the parliamentary system, and we still have political leaders who don't understand their role as servants of the people, but rather they see themselves as using their political offices to corruptly enrich themselves, then we still corrupt the parliamentary system that we have. So that is one thing. That's the first thing. But if we now handle the operators, let's say we have competent operators now, we are taking care of that. I will always say the parliamentary system is a better system of government. Why? Because it's cheaper, it's more representative, and in a parliamentary system is where both the legislative arm of government and the executive arm of government are together. So that fosters government policy, makes it more seamless to operate, and all of that. In a parliamentary system, you don't actually have a presidential election. You don't have a presidential election. You know, the Prime Minister of the UK didn't go about asking for voters to vote him as Prime Minister. He only went to his own constituency and sought the votes of his constituents who voted him to Parliament. But because he's the leader of the party that has the majority of MPs in Parliament, he automatically becomes Prime Minister. You know, and every week on a Wednesday, he's on the soapbox. He's facing the opposition party. And you know, imagine in Nigeria now, every week, President Tinubu is on one side, Atiku Abubakar, who came second in the election, is on the other side, and they are facing each other. You know, Atiku Abubakar is challenging President Tinubu on his policies, and President Tinubu will feel so much under pressure.
Yeah.
The kind of things he will say, like his statement yesterday when he was commissioning the Lagos Red Line, where he now said Labour Union have not given him time, that in 9 months. Atiku Abubakar will run into him. We try to tear him apart, appealing to Nigerians to see a president who is insensitive, who is unsympathetic with their plight. So that is parliamentary system. And also in the parliamentary system, Atiku Abubakar as the opposition leader will also be a government employee. He will be provided with offices, he will be provided with everything that is needed to run his government as an opposition leader. So if President Tinubu has a minister for education, Atiku Abubakar will have a shadow minister for education, who is also being paid by government. Of course, who is also an MP, having been elected to Parliament. So if Atiku Abubakar's Minister of Finance comes to, if President Tinubu's Minister of Finance comes to make a policy statement, Atiku Abubakar's shadow Minister of Finance will hold his own press conference and we give Nigerians the alternative view. You know, so that's the parliamentary system. It's actually
all right. Let me take your final words on this whole decentralization. Okay. So I wanted to take your final words because we have to wrap it up now. So I wanted to take your final words on this whole decentralization. You had earlier said yes and no, but after having this conversation, what do you think we should do as a nation moving forward?
So my final words is that our name, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is not backed up by our constitution.
Yeah.
We have a name, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our constitution is Unitary Republic of Nigeria. The area we take steps to sync our name and our constitution, the better. So we either have to agree that we change our name to the Unitary Republic of Nigeria to align with the Constitution, or we change the Constitution to a true federal system. A true federal system.
Well, there's a
constitution,
restructuring. They're looking at, excuse me, they are looking at, just restructuring the Constitution, and they said that should be ready in 2025. So that might just possibly happen.
See what they are doing with the Constitution? They are doing patching. They are patching the Constitution here and there. What we need to do is that we just need to bend this Constitution and have a truly federal Constitution.
Right.
Some people say, well, let's have a Constituent Assembly, National Sovereign Conference. The National Assembly, as currently constituted, can also do it because they are representing all of us in Nigeria. This Constitution, they are patching here and there. We have been patching it for the past 25 years. It's not done the job. We just need to have a federal Constitution, a Constitution that hands powers to the subnational government.
All right. Thank you so much. It was so nice having a conversation with you, Nick Agule. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
You too, sir. Thank you. All right, so we're speaking with Nick Agule. He's a public affairs analyst, and we're talking about decentralization because our Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, said Nigeria needs decentralization. Anyways, we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll be looking at our next hot topic. Please stay with us.
My name is Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. It's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Well, right now it's time for our next hot topic, and we're talking about Professor Wole Soyinka questioning the Nigerian government's failure to prosecute Deborah Samuel's killers. Joining us this morning to have a conversation about this is James Ibo. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. He's a Secretary at Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee, Cross River State. Good morning.
Thank you for having me once again.
Okay. So I love the fact that, you are in the Administration of Criminal Justice. So I'm sure you're going to shed more light into this. Professor Wole Soyinka, at the 50th anniversary of the Punch newspaper, said a lot of things. And one of the conversations he had was about the fact that over 2 years, Deborah Samuel's killers, nobody has been brought to justice. So everybody who was involved in that, having to, just lynch her because of some alleged blasphemy, is still walking free in Nigeria. What do you think about this and the fact that he's coming out, is, attacking, not really attacking the government, but questioning them and asking why nobody has been brought to book?
Yes, I want to use this opportunity to commend Professor Wole Soyinka for being consistent in reminding state actors about their responsibility. Remember, the business of government is basically to protect lives and property, and the life of Deborah Samuel Yakubu was taken without any justification by non-state actors who ought to have been prosecuted. Unfortunately, the state actors who are mandated by law to keep her alive, to protect her, and punish offenders to deter others from doing similar things, have failed. And I'm happy Wole Soyinka, has reminded them once again. This is not the first time he's reminding state actors, the government, they need to bring to book those who murdered Deborah Samuel Yakubu. This is not the first time. He has been very consistent almost every year. This is the second year, reminding the government that, look, justice has to be served. It is unfortunate we have a government that politicizes everything. This is the life of a young woman that was taken without any justification for a reason that one would say in the 21st century is very absurd.
Barbaric is the word you're looking for, barbaric.
Yes. Why should we in the 21st century murder somebody for so-called blasphemy? Assuming that there's justification to even prosecute her, the young men and women should not have taken laws into their hands. This shows you how the system has failed the people. We have, our systems are very weak. I remember when it happened, there was this show of some arrests being made, people arraigned, and it was
photo op?
I think it was just done to maybe calm frayed nerves, not calm the South or those who were protesting that justice should be served. And thereafter, they actually helped them escape justice. So the state government in Kano, the Nigerian police force, is complicit.
Okay, so why do you think that justice hasn't been served? This is 2 years, 24 months or more that we're talking about.
Somebody has been murdered and nobody has been convicted.
Yes.
They are not denying the fact that Deborah was murdered. So justice has not been served.
So why is it taking so long? That's my question. Why is it taking so long for justice to be served?
Because a section of this country believe that their God is superior than our constitution. That is the reason. If you go to the north, this is not the first killing. This will not be the last. A lot of Christians or non-Christians or even atheists have been killed extrajudicially or even put in jail by state actors for expressing their rights as guaranteed in the Constitution. And most times they manipulate the provisions of the penal code to suit their purpose.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Because we can say this, okay, some people say their religion is higher. You have the cases of Sharia law in the north. But for things like this, the act in itself is barbaric, and you would expect the government to do something about it. You cannot tell me that a religion is higher than, the rules and regulation that governs a nation the laws, the Constitution of the Federal Republic should be supreme. And so if there's some form of barbaric, illegal act that happens where someone is being killed, because at the end of the day, in Nigeria, the government should protect the lives and properties of the nation, right, of people, of the citizens. So you're supposed to protect, you know how they say a person is a property of the state. So now someone has taken that property away from you unlawfully. Shouldn't they be doing something about this? Why are these people still roving around the city freely? Why is the government not doing anything or rising up? Does it have to take someone like Professor Wole Soyinka reminding them consistently before something is being done? And like you said, he reminded them last year. This is another year with the same form of consistency and nothing is being done. So at what point do we get to see that these people will be brought to books?
I think the government lacks the political will. Government will look at the mood of the people within that area and decide whether to take action or not take action. Government themselves do not respect the laws of the land. So they pick and choose what to do, when to act and when not to act, which is a shame. It's a shame because our constitution, the Constitution of Nigeria, is the ground norm, and Chapter 4 clearly, one of the basic fundamental rights of the human person is the right to life. This life has been taken in a manner that is against the law. So why is it taking people, reminding them of their responsibility? So I want to use this opportunity to call on the president, who is the commander-in-chief, to be decisive in protecting lives and property, because these are the things that if it continues unabated, it can cause religious riots. Because the fact that the Christians in Sokoto are the minority does not mean you should destroy them. It means where you have Christians as the majority, they will also want to exterminate the Muslims in their midst. So there must be a deliberate action to protect minorities in our communities, both Christians in the north, where Muslims are dominating, and Muslims in the south, where Christians are dominating, atheists in the north and in the south, because they are of the minority. So there must be a deliberate government action to protect minority groups and sects in our communities.
Okay, so at this point,
I want to also use the opportunity to call on to talk about the issue of Mubarak. Mubarak was also arrested, and for two years, nobody heard about him. He was only arraigned 2 years after his arrest on the issue of also blasphemy. So there is double standard. The Muslims, our Muslim brothers should also realize that, look, it is important to protect the minority groups in their community.
Right. So how do we move forward as a nation, especially with the fact that, things like this happen and the government is not swinging into action? Do we need some civic responsibility societies or, people to actually come out to speak about this? But I know that Professor Wole Soyinka is, a highly respected man in this society. So at this point, what do we do?
I think, like I said, the Christian communities or minority groups generally should begin to organize and stop agonizing. Like Innocent Chukwuma will always say, we should start organizing during campaign and politicking. How do we assert ourselves? How do we get the politicians, the political elites to protect us in our communities? So we have to start organizing to assert ourselves until we feel safe in our own country. There is genocide, there is xenophobia of minority groups, atheists all in the country, Christians in the north, and Muslims in the south. All lives matter, and it is government's responsibility to keep us safe. So members of the House of Assembly in Sokoto, it is their responsibility to call out the government. It is the responsibility of National Assembly members to call out. Remember, Deborah Samuel Yakubu is a constituent.
Yeah.
And every government at every level in Nigeria has the responsibility to keep us safe or bring the killers to justice. So this is another opportunity, and I want to thank Plus TV for escalating it. We have to keep the conversation on until justice is served.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. I was going to ask, so about the House of Representatives, do you think there should be some laws or bills that should be passed against this? Because you see this happen almost everywhere. For instance, right now is even a case of blasphemy, but you go to the market, maybe someone steals a little cube of seasoning and the person is being lynched. You see this happen, jungle justice happen all the time. And this is not the first time, like you said, it will not be the last. For years, this kind of evil has been perpetuated in our society. How do we get to curb this menace?
This is a reflection of the weak institutions we have, our justice system. For instance, let's focus on the police.
Yeah.
The police is poorly funded, poorly equipped. Their capacity is so low that they cannot detect crime and respond to emergencies. They cannot. Their training is poor. Their take-home pay is very poor. Their equipment. Let me tell you, to be very frank, the police have set up toll gates. The police and the Nigerian military have set up two toll gates across the nation, and yet we have insecurities everywhere. They've set up toll gates extorting motorists.
Yeah.
Most police officers, how much are they paid? With the inflation we have in this country, their take-home pay cannot buy a half bag of rice. You saw the videos when customs were giving out 10,000 naira worth of rice, and you see soldiers and police officers scrambling for just half bag of rice.
Yes.
That shows you the situation in this country. All their uniforms, most of them, in fact, 90% of police officers buy their kits. They buy their uniforms. They buy everything they use to work. Where did they get the money? We give police vehicles. We don't care how those vehicles are serviced. We don't care how those vehicles are fueled.
They go ahead and ask citizens to fuel their vehicles for them.
Exactly. If you are arrested, if you report a case to the police, you are expected to fund the investigation. That is against the Evidence Act. Citizens are expected to fund criminal investigation and even criminal prosecution. That is very unfortunate. And that is a country set up to fail. I have always said that the police is at the center of every nation's civilization. You get it right with the police, you would have solved 70% of the Nigerian problem. We have to get it right with the police. How are we funding the police? How are we budgeting for the police? Have we asked the police, what is the cost of investigation in 2023? So we can estimate what their 2024 budget will look like. When their budget is made, what about releases?
Yeah. Well, I just hope that Deborah's killers will be brought to books, and we're always clamoring for justice in Nigeria. We want
the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police have to respond to the comment Wole Soyinka made.
Yes.
It is his responsibility.
Yeah.
He should come out to tell us that Mr. President is not willing to prosecute the killers.
Well, that's not even what we want. We want a situation whereby the killers will be prosecuted. We want a justice for Deborah Samuel Yakubu. Anyways, we want to say thank you for joining us and coming to shed light on this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we've been speaking with James Iboah. He's the Secretary, Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee, Cross River State. And we've just been talking about the statement Wole Soyinka made at the 50th anniversary of the Punch newspaper, where he was questioning the Nigerian government's failure to prosecute Deborah Samuel Yakubu's killers. Anyways, this is the size of our show. This is where we have to wrap it up. It's been a great week having a breakfast with you. Thank you for having breakfast with me, and I'll see you again on Monday. My name is Rome Paulson. Have an amazing weekend.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
The Nigerian political space is an interesting and evolving scene, especially as Nigeria continues to practice democracy. Over the years, many celebrities in the country have been appointed by their state governments as commissioners, special assistants, and advisors, while some have intentionally delved into politics with the plan of serving the people and pursuing a career in politics. Today, we will be highlighting 5 female Nigerian entertainers who have been in politics or are in politics. At the top of this list is Funke Akindele. In July 2022, popular Nollywood actress Olufunke Akindele was announced as the deputy governor candidate for the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for Lagos State in the coming 2023 elections. The Nollywood star, best known for her Jennifer character, will be running alongside Olajide Adediran, a journalist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist popularly known as Jandor. Next, we have Tonto Dike. Ahead of the 2023 Rivers State gubernatorial elections, Nollywood actress Tonto Dike has revealed her intentions to run for deputy governor of the state. She had earlier in 2020, during an interview with the Ovation magazine publisher Dele Momodu, announced her intention to go into politics in 2023. Governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC Rivers State, Tonte Ibraye, on 24th of June, announced Tonto Dike as his running mate for the 2023 governorship elections in the state.
As a matter of fact, your presence irritates me. And let me make it clear to you that I have the documents to which you look for.
Moving on, we have Ini Edo. Ini Edo is an accomplished Nollywood actress, film producer, and director.
And you're not supposed to be here. I'm out there. You're the one who's giving me this drug that gets you depressed. I am not a depressed person. Leave me alone. Don't listen to me.
She is one of the actresses who has previously held political positions. In 2016, she served as the special assistant to Governor Gabriel Udom Emmanuel, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, on culture and tourism. Her appointment was renewed in 2020 when the state's current governor, Udom Gabriel Emmanuel, was re-elected. Still on this list, we have Kate Henshaw. Veteran Nollywood actress Kate Henshaw, on July 19, 2014, officially launched her campaign website as she sought to represent the Calabar Municipal Odukmani Federal Constituency on the People's Democratic Party platform. Henshaw, however, lost the primary election to retired Honorable Essien Ayi, but was appointed by Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade as Special Advisor Liaison, Lagos, in December 2015. Recently, she recounted how she spent 35 million naira to pursue her ambition to become a member of the House of Representatives and her regrets. And finally, we have Mercy Johnson Okoje.
Iche, this is the money my father borrowed from your hand. Please, do not go near my father's Iroko tree. Do not go near my Iroko tree. Biko.
Popular Nollywood actress Mercy Johnson was appointed as the Senior Special Assistant on Entertainment, Arts and Culture to Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, in 2017. The actress has stated that she will not enter partisan politics because she believes she has enough influence as a filmmaker and appointee. Interestingly, her husband, Prince Odianosen Okoje, won the APC 2022 House of Representatives Esan North-East South-East Federal Constituency primary election. A popular quote from Charles de Gaulle states that politics is too serious a matter to be left to the politicians. And in Nigeria, with more Nigerian entertainment
This is the news brief on Plus TV Africa. President Bola Tinubu says his administration will continue the fight against corruption without looking back and that the current economic challenges are temporary. The president who stated this during the commissioning of the first phase of the iconic Lagos Rail Mass Transit Red Line project asked Nigerians to pray and work, reassuring that the country will soon get out of the present economic woes. Our correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedokun tells us more in this report.
The Lagos Rail Mass Transit Red Line runs from Agbado in Ogun State to Oyingbo in Lagos mainland local government. The Red Rail Line spans 37 kilometers, boasting 13 stations and integrates major bus terminals at Oyingbo, Yaba, Oshodi, Ikeja, Ebute-Metta, Iju, and Ido, with a direct link to the international and domestic wings of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. The official commissioning of the project saw government functionaries, political party supporters, friends, well-wishers waiting patiently to witness yet another epoch-making event. The president was welcomed on arrival by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his wife, Ibijoke, the deputy governor, Obafemi Hamzat, state commissioners, political leaders, and aides. In his address, President Tinubu shared insights into the transformative vision for Lagos State. He commended Governor Sanwo-Olu and the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, for their commitment and well-guided initiatives. President Tinubu said the rail project shows the validation of dreams and what could happen with the right people in leadership positions. As expected, President Tinubu touched on the present economic challenges and efforts at ensuring that Nigeria is corruption-free. He also went hard on the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, for incessant mass protests.
The Labour Union should understand that no matter how much we cling to our freedom and rights, To call for strike within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. If you want to participate in the electoral process, wait on the 2027. If not, maintain peace. They are not the only voice of Nigerians.
Earlier in a speech, Governor Sanwo-Olu commended the visionary leadership of President Tinubu for creating the Transportation Master Plan for Lagos State, as he thanks former President Goodluck Jonathan for approving the rail track sharing agreement that enabled the commencement of the project.
I uniquely was privileged to be part of your administration that birthed Lamata 20 years ago. On that, you've allowed a seamless movement of people and fuel economic growth and development of our state. I stand here very proud to say that the Lagos State Strategic Transport Master Plan that outlines what those integrated rail system stood for, which are 6 rail corridors, 1 monorail, 14 BRT corridors, and over 20 water routes on vast network of what is today the tiniest, smallest state in our country called Lagos State.
Among the distinguished guests at the commissioning were Governors Usman Ododo of Kogi State, Abiodun Oyebanji of Ekiti State, Dakpo Abiodun Ogun, former Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode, and other notable dignitaries. Love Ikuku Oyedokun, Plus TV News.
Former Group Managing Director of the FBN Holdings, Urum Eke, has rejected his nomination as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Eke, an executive director at the First Bank, was one of 5 others nominated and screened as CBN directors by the Senate Committee on Banking, headed by Senator Adetokunbo Abiru. In his presentation of the report for confirmation of appointments of other nominees, Senator Abiru said all of them demonstrated a comprehensive grasp of economic knowledge and policies, and that there was no petition against any of them.
Recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, after robust engagement with the nominees and being satisfied with their experiences, performances, and academic qualifications, hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do confirm the nomination of all the underlisted as members of the Board of Directors for the Central Bank, as members of the Board of Directors of Central Bank. 1, Mr. Robert Agbede. 2, Mr. Ado Yakubu Wanka. 3, Professor Muritala Sabo Sagagi. 4, Mrs. Muslimat Olanike Aliyu, as all as director.
Providing explanation for Ake's absence during the screenings, Senator Aju Zorkalu told his colleagues that the nominee had informed him that taking the job would be in conflict with his current engagement. He explained further that the nominee is currently a consultant to the World Bank and other global business entities, hence his reason to decline the offer.
Mr. Orumkal Eke is my constituent, and he made a call to me, and he told me that there's a conflict between the new job he's doing and the central bank, sitting in the central bank, because he's a consultant to the World Bank, to some businesses, private and government. So he informed the governor of Central Bank that he might be declined not to do the job. So this is the reason it did not come. So I support the 4 candidates nominated by Mr. President because they are very credible people. They are people of high reputation. Nigerians at the Central Bank needs them at this moment of our economy.
After Carlos' explanation, the Senate went ahead to confirm the appointment of 4 others as directors on the CBN board. Now, the Red Chamber accordingly confirmed the appointment when put to voice vote by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Jibrin Barau, who presided over the session.
We go straight to the approval. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Mr. Robert Agbede for appointment as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Mr. Ado Yakubu Wanka for appointment as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Professor Murtala Sabo Sagagi for appointment as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Mrs. Muslimat Oladike Aliyu for appointment as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Now to security matters. Residents of Bolongira in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State have blocked the Abuja-Kaduna highway following the attack on their communities by bandits. During the attack, several members of the community were reportedly kidnapped, with several others injured. 2 people, including a member of the Civilian Joint Task Force, were reportedly killed also. The latest attack on the Gonigora community comes barely a week after soldiers killed a notorious bandit kingpin, Bodere Isiaku, and some of his fighters in the same Chikun local government area. Meanwhile, the Kaduna State Security Council has warned against blockage of public roads, harassment of innocent citizens by groups of individuals conducting protests.
In the early hours of today, we have an incident at Angon outer axis of Gonungora, where a number of citizens were kidnapped, and we also have an unfortunate situation where a citizen was also shot dead instantly at that location. And members of the armed forces, supported by other security agencies, actually moved to the location immediately, and they were able to come in contact with the said bandit. It may also interest you to know that in the course of the contact, we were able to rescue some citizens, but some citizens are also missing. We cannot account for them. But as we speak, troops supported by other security agencies are trailing them.
Meantime, bandits have abducted scores of worshippers in one of the mosques in Safi town, a local government area of Zamfara state. An indigene of the area said the bandits invaded the mosque around 5 a.m. on Thursday when the people were about to start the morning prayer. According to reports, the number of abducted worshippers could be more than 30. Safi local government is one of the areas in the state was hit by banditry over the years. Now, a group of vigilantes and hunters in Taraba State have rescued 40 hostages who had been languishing in a kidnapper's den in Agandwo. The rescued hostages were kidnapped from rural communities in Yoro and Zing local government areas of the state. Our correspondent George Nuhu Gundale's report is presented from our studio. We'll bring you that report in subsequent bulletins. Now, health experts have called for an increase in taxes paid on sugar-sweetened beverages from the current 10 naira to 130 naira in order to discourage excessive consumption by members of the public. Addressing a press conference in Lagos, the Executive Director of Corporate Accountability and Public Participation in Africa, CAPA, Akimbade Oluwafemi, disclosed that 99% of illnesses are as a result of excessive consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages.
For more than 2 hours, these men of the media profession emerged in this official launch of the research report on sugar-sweetened beverage, SSB, Taxi Nigeria, organized by Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA. The aim is for them to have first-hand information on the outcome of the research on the potential fiscal and public health effects of sugar-sweetened beverage tax in Nigeria. According to the group, the report is a comprehensive analysis of the SSB tax, including the potential impact on both the fiscal landscape and public health outcomes in Nigeria. Akimbade Oluwafemi is the executive director of CAPA. Highlighting more on the report, he calls on Nigerians to engage in healthy lifestyles by consuming less of what is destructive to the body.
That tax is not just for government to earn revenue. It is to protect the Nigerian citizens. It is for public health. The tax is to ensure that there is decrease in the consumption of products that are causing NCDs in Nigeria. Products that causes diabetes, high blood pressure, and are also related to the cancers and the rest of them. And so you've got to introduce a tax that will induce reduction in consumption.
In his presentation, a research associate, Center for the Studies of Economic of Africa, Fidelis Obaniyi, calls for an effective SSB tax regime. He holds strongly that it will go a long way in reducing consumption of SSB as well as the burden of non-communicable diseases while generating revenue for public health initiatives.
Normally the economics should believe that, okay, if you increase tax, the burden of that tax will be shifted from the industry to the consumers. But we are also expecting a non-price response. A non-price response in this case is product reformulation. Product reformulation in the sense that the industry too will begin to adjust in terms of the content, the sugar content of their products.
On her part, Okpeyemi Ibitoye paints a more gloomy picture on the consequences of too much intake of SSB.
The sense of taking something in your body that won't have any positive effects on your body or in your body. So there's basically no need for us to take sugar drinks. The best you can do is to just opt for water or take fresh juices that they are free from sugar. Things that are fruit juices that you make at home or juices that you know that you trust the source. And so these are just basically what sugar drinks are. But then when we look at its impacts on NCDs, we realize that NCDs, they place a global burden, not just in Nigeria, but they are a global burden on health globally.
A Nigerian living with diabetes who continues to consume Coke will not be able to properly take care of his or herself. And that is just one angle. There is a family member that is taking care of that person who would begin to lose productive hours. An unpaid caregiver who cannot earn from his or her normal work and can still not earn from giving care to that person. This is why we are saying the SSB tax is a triple win. A win for the individual, a win for the government, and a win for public health.
According to the report, Nigeria ranks fourth globally in SSB consumption, with an annual sale of approximately 38.6 million liters in a market value at $16.87 billion in 2023. Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
You're watching the news on Plus TV Africa. We'll take a quick break and return with stories from the African and international scene. Do join us again.
My name is Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to like weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. You know, it's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because you know, most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
Welcome back now to other parts of Africa. Senegal's president has confirmed that he will stand down when his term expires on the 2nd of April. In a post on X, eligibility of all the candidates could be reserved. Outside the continent now, President Vladimir Putin has told Western countries that they risked provoking a nuclear war if they sent troops to fight in Ukraine, warning that Moscow had the weapons to strike targets in the West. Now, the war in Ukraine has triggered the worst crisis in Moscow's relations with the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Putin has previously spoken of the dangers of a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia, but this or his nuclear warning on Thursday was one of his most explicit. Business news now. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has urged the federal government to maintain all measures to boost the level of liquidity and degree of transparency in the official forex window, even as the backlog of $7 billion forex obligations is being cleared. The government was also advised to manage the floating exchange rate system within an acceptable lower and upper bound, pending the actualization of a net exporting economy aspirations. President of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Francis Mesheye, gave this advice during the presidential luncheon and MAN 2023 Reporter of the Year. Mesheye also said the Apex Bank should allow forex access for importation of vital industrial inputs that are currently not available locally and subject them to backward integration policy that gives priority to a predictable sunset clause. Meanwhile, speaking on the recent ban on the sale of alcoholic beverages in sachets and PET bottles less than 200 milliliters, the Director General of the Association, Segun Ajayi Quadri, is of the opinion that the issue raised by NAFDAC for its decision is unfounded. In entertainment news now, Lord Lambert is fighting for custody of his daughter with Queen Mercy Atang after the reality star got engaged. In legal documents shared online, Kevin Anagbodo, better known as Lord Lambert, said he wants custody of the child because he does not want another man to raise his child. He added that now that Mercy is about to get married, she would not have the time to give their daughter the care she deserves. He then stated that his mother and sister will be better suited to care for the child. The legal documents emerged after Lord Lambert, who refused to acknowledge his daughter publicly since she was born, posted her for the first time on Thursday. Immediately after Queen Mercy Atang announced her engagement to a UK-based biomedical scientist named David, Nigerians called him out for only acknowledging his child after another man laid claim to Queen Mercy Atang. Sports news now. Nigeria's senior women's cricket team, the female Yellow Greens, continued their stride in defending their title at the Nigerian Cricket Federation Women's T20I Invitational Tournament with another 5-wicket win against Sierra Leone at the Tafawa Balewa Cricket Oval on Thursday. This is Nigeria's third win at the full-nation tournament, as they have now completed the double over their fellow West Africans, as well as another pulsating 5-wicket win over arch-rivals Rwanda on Wednesday. With the win, Nigeria and debutants Tanzania are joint top of the leaderboard with 6 points each, although the Tanzanians have a better net run rate. Well, sports news wraps it for us on the News Brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, on X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Justin Nakadonye. Many thanks for watching.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Vicky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
The pandemic opened the world to a new dispensation regarding work. How people work and the career paths they take differ from generation to generation. There are 5 generations present in the modern workplace, each with unique expectations and perspectives. A person's career path is described as the work they do and the roles they hold as they climb up the ladder. Before the millennium, career paths for many was simply linear, which could be a person working at the same organization and growing there till they retired, or a person working in the same role but changing jobs a couple of times. Security and staying power were the cornerstone of this career path. However, with modern technology, a person's career path can be as multifaceted and versatile as the individual wishes. Millennials now work multiple roles in their career trajectories, pursue numerous passions that are sometimes interwoven, and work at different roles in their journeys. Baby boomers and Generation X only considered a job good if it gave them the security to work there till they retire. But for millennials and Gen Z, the workplace has changed, and so has the career structure. Millennials often change their career paths or juggle multiple interests simultaneously. Being able to move from one job to another might signal a person's employability and adaptability. Baby boomers tend to believe that working long hours is what defines success and value face-to-face interactions with co-workers. In contrast, millennials believe that innovation and flexibility are key ingredients for success at work. The shift in occupational structures, for example, the increasing gig economy, is leading to polarization in employment, wages, and inequalities. From remote work policies to virtual leadership, the pandemic changed how we work. The opportunity to telework increased for some, such as knowledge workers, but not for frontline workers. Among the benefits are an improved work-life balance for some, as well as changed attitudes to well-being. Teleworking can lead to a higher productivity and lower operating costs for companies. Work is increasingly flexible and decentralized. Working from home or out of a workspace is favored by many because of the flexibility that comes with it. Millennials and Gen Zs prefer flexible work schedules and part-time hours so that they can balance their work and life compared to older generations who prefer security.
Some people are social people. You know, when they go to the office, they have friends everywhere. Good morning. How was the football match? You know, you just with your colleagues and stuff like that. That social element at work, a lot of people need it. Me personally, I'm an extrovert, but I'm also high on the introverted side. I like going to parties, I like making friends, but I also like keeping to myself. So at work, I'm not the friendliest. I would smile, I would say hi, but I don't need to. So it depends on your personality and what you need. For me, work from home works a lot for me because I get to spend time with my family. I'm always in the house with my partner, and that really makes me happy.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on Business Insights as we focus on side hustling in the wake of the nation's gripping insurance. A side job ideally is a way to earn extra income, particularly with Nigeria's current weak economics indicators showing a high inflation rate, a high unemployment rate, and a high poverty rate. The outbreak of the coronavirus in 2020 brought to the fore the need for individuals to diversify their sources of income to hedge against adversity that could occur if they get laid off from work. Having another source of income is a commendable financial decision, but it is an arduous step to take, especially when you are combining it with your main job. However, merging both is not rocket science, as all it requires is good planning and time management. On the show this morning, we'll be focusing on how to manage your side hustles with your full-time job so that none of them actually suffers. We'll take a quick break and we'll return in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. First off, manufacturing has always been a critical driver of any economic development and is crucial for sustainable growth and job creation. It also has the potential to transform the nation's economy, diversify revenue sources, and reduce dependence on oil. Now, those were the words of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment at this year's edition of the Nigerian Manufacturing and Equipment Exposition and the Nigeria Raw Materials Exposition, NIMRA Expo. Details now.
The annual Nigerian Manufacturing and Equipment Expo jointly organized the Nigerian Raw Materials Exposition of the Raw Materials Research and Development Council affords stakeholders an opportunity to examine the state of the manufacturing sector and deliberate on the roadmap for development through the Manufacturers Partnership for African Development and masterclass sessions. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is well represented here. It assures that its policy initiatives will continue to center on creating an enabling environment, incentivizing production activities, and promoting the use of made-in-Nigeria products to boost the competitiveness of our manufacturers.
Fertilizer production, in summary, luckily for us, the federal government has banned the importation of fertilizer. So the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria can do as much as possible to ensure that we produce enough fertilizer in Nigeria locally. There are 4 major types of fertilizers being produced in Nigeria. The urea fertilizer, single superphosphate fertilizer, triple superphosphate fertilizer, DAF, diammonia phosphate fertilizer, and the NPK fertilizer. Organic fertilizer is not banned, but I believe with the support of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and with our raw material resources, we have the capacity to produce most of the organic fertilizer needs of Nigeria. If we can get the correct investors to invest in these areas, believe me, in the very few years to come, we can ban the importation of organic fertilizer also in Nigeria.
In his welcome address, the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Otumba Francis Meshioye, says the annual event provides a common ground for large manufacturing organizations and SMEs to explore new production processes that will increase their production output.
The theme of the 2023 Expo is Future Manufacturing, building a sustainable roadmap to the industrialization of Nigeria. The theme is informed by the unprecedented rate in which our world is changing in terms of innovation and technologies, shifting consumer expectations, as well as increasing social awareness of gender equity and restoration of previously marginalized communities. If manufacturers can efficiently balance a combination of efficient economies of production and supply chains, strong and reputable products, loyal customers, and established logistic network, as well as reliable online business elements, they'll be well positioned in the future to compete favorably in the industrial marketplace.
Participants at the event emphasized the importance of incorporating technology to produce locally made goods, support sustainable development, and reduce reliance on developed nations.
The resultant high cost of power generation not only inflates operational costs, but also diminishes the competitiveness of locally manufactured products in both domestic and export markets. So at Shell Nigeria Gas, we are committed to bridging the energy gap and contributing to the Decade of Gas ambition by providing manufacturing companies and industrial customers with clean, reliable, low-cost alternative to liquid fuels.
As you know, in recent years, the bilateral economic and trade relationship between China and Nigeria has become increasingly close. In terms of trade, China is Nigeria's largest global trade partner, while Nigeria is China's second largest trade partner in Africa. In China-Nigeria Manufacturing Corporation, China can leverage its strengths in capital, technology, and talent, while Nigeria can give full play to its advantages in market and labor.
Man says both exhibitions have continued to serve a great purpose in improving the status of the nation's manufacturing sector, particularly with the representation of the entire manufacturing value chain at the expo floor since inception in 2016. The theme for this year is Future Manufacturing, Building a Sustainable Roadmap to the Industrialization of Nigeria. Emmanuel Olubobokun, Plus TV News.
With the economic downturn in Nigeria, practically everybody needs an extra source of income to survive. Though this is true, being prudent while at it is very crucial to eschew losing your main job over your side hustle. No matter how much money your side hustle gives you, you must prioritize your full job when you are at work. It is vital to give your main job utmost focus. I'll introduce my guest in a moment after this quick break. Stay with me. All right, welcome back to Business Insight in Plus TV Africa as we look at side hustles in the wake of the biting inflationary pressure in the country. My guest, Mark Idiahe, is an inspirational leadership coach, brand and communication strategist. His career vision is to be involved in assessing the need for acquiring and implementing revolutionary strategies and systems for top-notch performance in organizations through exceptional leadership approach. Idiahe is a social enterprise developer, a leadership mentor, and sought-after speaker on topics related but not limited to leadership, governance, growth, and collaborative development. He is the publisher of a foremost Pan-African magazine called African Future Leadership Magazine. Many thanks for joining me on Business Insights, Mark.
Thank you so very much. Glad to be here.
Yes, it is indeed our pleasure. Let's talk about side hustles. You know, in the wake of the biting inflation that everyone can actually relate to, most people are looking at having one or two other jobs, attached, to their normal source of livelihood. How do you really react to this new development because of the way things are going on right now in the country?
All right. Once again, thank you for having me. Now, first of all, we must admit that this is an unusual time and people are barely surviving. So I tend to live with just one source of income is a strategy for financial crisis. And I'm not going to be apologetic when I reference the first man here. I mean, if I go a bit spiritual, the first man God created, he put him in a place called Eden and he gave him 4 streams. Think about it. If God in his wisdom and his multifaceted dimension in nature will create a man and put him in a perfect, what I would love to call a perfect utopia, where everything was well garnished and polished and everything working perfectly, and he thought that it was critical that that man had 4 streams of income. Why in the world would anybody in his right senses think that he can strive in an economy as complex as Nigeria's economy with 1 streams of income? Now, the question I've often asked people around that are on 9 to 5, you call them 9 to 5ers. How in the world are you coping with this incessant increase in price of commodity, household items, when your salary is not increased correspondingly? I mean, you go to market today, for instance, and you see an item that has doubled in price. You were in the market 2 weeks ago. Now you're in the market, back to the market, and they tell you that the price have doubled. And the way they can rationalize that is to tell you, hey, are you not in this country? Are you not following the trend with the currents and with the fluctuation in exchange rate and all of that? So why should anyone? I understand in your intro you said something that we should not, in a bid to have side hustle, then play down the significance of having the main hustle. Yeah, there has to be that moderation. There has to be that balance. Your main hustle is good. You have to have that going. But you have to be strategic and very pragmatic by devising strategy to have other streams of income. Otherwise, you're going to choke in this economy.
All right, still speaking of streams of income, most people have actually moved towards the line of entrepreneurship. They are using their skills or most of the things they have passion for to monetize them, to be actually getting something, in return from that. I know people who ordinarily love cooking, and because of the way the economy is really biting, they have even started one sort of food business, even online. But some people would tell you that they don't really think they have such skills, or they have enough skills that could be upskilled to channeled into getting more money for them. Do you really have to be so talented to have a side hustle per se, or maybe to be an entrepreneur on your own?
No, not exactly, my brother. What they need is to think outside of the box. You know, when a man is hungry enough, he will devise a meal. Hunger does two things to a man. Number one, hunger can incapacitate a man. And when that happens, he lost the ability to think. And when you can't think, you'll be stagnant, you'll be stranded. Then on the flip side, hunger can become a recipe for success because it drives you from a comfort zone. And comfort zone in the first place is an illusion. It's not real. Comfort zone, I liken it to a rocking chair, you know. The thing I hate about rocking chair is that you can be in one position, exerting energy, swinging back and front, and you never cover any distance.
All right, Mark, are you still there with us?
Can be enough. And you don't necessarily have to have this ingenious idea. In this time and age, you don't have to be so gifted with the ability to conceive grand idea for you to be able to be successful. There are clues here and there. For instance, I resigned from, I'm not in any way trying to undermine people that do 9 to 5, but I resigned from that about 7 years ago because I wanted to be able to be in a place and make a whole lot of things happen online, leveraging on the online. There are many things that anyone can do in this age and time without having to move around. And by the way, if you're going to be successful financially, mind you, it's not going to be by hard work, so to speak, in this contest. It's not going to be by how much hustling you have done. I know we call it side hustle, but you can be in one spot and you leverage on online platform. I have a friend who is into graphics, for instance, and his clients are US-based clients and from United Kingdom, from different parts of the world. And I asked him a couple of days ago, why don't you love to take clients from Nigeria? Why don't you prospect for Nigeria clients? And he said, sir, with all that is happening with the currency, I'm in a vantage position if I have clients that are US-based or Canadian or in UK, for instance, because they get to pay me in their currency. And by the time I convert that, that's a whole lot of money. Just to reference the point, just to put it in proper perspective, I was reading one commentary by an economist a few hours ago. And he said that this devaluation of Naira is intentional by the government so as to encourage exportation and discourage importation. Now, I don't intend to laugh, but it's interesting. It's an interesting conundrum here because you are saying that for us to be able to encourage and get people to export things or merchandise and co, there is need for the value to be devalued. That sounds good. Logically, economically sounds good. But the last time I checked, all the economists can't even seem to find their way out of this conundrum we find ourselves right now. Because their permutation, their projection, and their analysis and co, they are not working. This is my point. As long as that economic policy does not affect the life of the common man when it comes to household goods, then we are in trouble. Because what you have on the street, the restlessness, the crime rates, and this depression and all of these things happening is as a result of common man, as it were, not able to eke out a living, not able to fend for themselves. So any smart governments or policy makers have to be determined in ensuring that whatever policies that they come up with has to positively affect the common man. But the positive side of that is truly with the way currency is going right now, anybody who can be in a position to export would definitely be in a vantage position. So we are not just looking at the Nigerian economy, how you can survive within this sphere, but how about you developing skill or going for information and knowledge, asking yourself, what can I do right now from where I am to put me in a financial, in a positive position financially to be able to strive.
All right, fine. You know, some people would actually say that they really don't have enough time, that they work Monday to Friday, they work 9 to 5. But how can you really manage the 24 hours that we have in a day and still try to, get a side hustle? Or maybe put differently, how can you manage your first job and a second job without having either of them suffer?
Awesome. Now, if I were to flip this camera, you realize that I'm actually working from the house right now. We did nights. Okay. You see, time is the most valuable resource we both have. Both the janitor and the CEO in the Fortune 500 have one thing, one equilibrium. I love to call it equilibrium. Is a unifier. Time. What you do and how you manage your time will determine where you'll be in the nearest, let's say 5 years from now, invariably.
All right, Mark, do we still have you there? It is really very. Okay, go ahead.
You can't keep complaining that you don't have time. How many hours in the day are you sleeping? Because.
All right, we seem to be having a connection issue there. Or it's a Mark. Mark, can you hear us? Yeah, but just before we lost Mark there, we've been talking about how you can actually, manage your time, be very efficient about it, because some people might even expect us to have like 36 hours in the day just to do all they need to do at the time. But you have to be a very effective or efficient time manager if you really want to plan your finances, your resources, and of course all of the other side hustles or second jobs that you might have in mind. Do we still have Mark there? All right, Mark, go ahead. We lost you at some point. Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, good. So it all comes to this. How are you able to manage your time? For you to be successful, you have to be a good manager of your time. We all have 24 hours in the day. Like I hinted earlier, I'm working from the house right now. I don't have to get to the road, drive from one end of the street or from one place to the other. If I can do what I can do now. Look at what technology have afforded us. On a way back, I will have to be in your office, in your studio right now for us to have this conversation. But you are on one end and I'm on the other side, and we are having this conversation and we are having the best of our time. Why? Because we are maximizing the moment and the opportunity that technology throws at us. So if you don't have time, if I was a 9 to 5, what I would is to set up time. When did I get to the house from work? See, all the many things. I don't watch TV. I don't have no business with TV and all the frivolous things that do. Anything that will not translate and have a positive impact in my bottom line and develop me and position me to be more efficient, I have no business with that. Most people that now what they devote a large chunk of their time to, aside the work is, your life is not all about the work. What do you do with the other extra time that you have?
Okay.
That is very important.
All right, okay, Mark, let's leave side hustles for one moment, and let's see if we can bring leadership into all of this, because you will agree with me that some of the issues that we have in the country is related to the choices of leadership and some of the policies that we have. And I know on Friday you are celebrating excellence in leadership. Can you tell us more about that?
Okay, we've been on this for the past 7 years, and yours sincerely is the convener of Future Leadership Conference and Award, because leadership is critical. Africa is, over the years, have been defined as a dark continent. To me, that's a wrong way to describe a continent that is so full of potential and have a lot going on. This year, for instance, we are having the 8th edition on the 24th of this month, and the theme is very, very critical. The Renaissance, repositioning Africa for global relevance. And here we're going to be having a robust conversation on the African continent, the leadership of Africa, because we can no longer leave politics to politicians. We no longer need more politicians in leadership. Instead, we need more leadership in politics. Now, if you get that, the problem with Africa will be solved, because we are tired of having this situation where we have people coming to leadership, they clamor to be in leadership, We vote for them, they campaign, and they will tell you they would rather die if they don't get into politics. Then you give them the opportunities only for things. It's almost as if things get worse when they come into power. So what exactly is the reason for that? The reason for that is the lack of transformational leadership. And may I tell you this? It will take transform people to transform the society. The transformation that we seek in the nation, in the continent, in the office, in whichever demography, in whichever place, has to come from people, has to be people inspired, because the highest form of leadership is inspiration. Being able to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, being able to bring up changes, and this change comes from people. It doesn't come from machine. It's not from AI. AI doesn't regulate the systems and bring policy, come up with policies that can help to run the administration and the governance. No, it's going to take people. It's going to take ideology. It's going to take philosophy. So this is why we are having this conversation on the 24th, and we have people coming in from different places, different the continent in Africa. We have Dr. Sami who will be flying in from Malawi.
All right.
We have
All right, so if we have to start going into details, that will be actually doing a proper marketing. But then we look forward to, seeing a more improved leadership in not just Nigeria, but in Africa. And of course, and Trust Plus TV will be there to cover and make sure that this talk of qualitative and exceptional leadership can actually be imbibed in society in Nigeria. Mark Idaho is a leadership coach and consultant, convener Future Leadership Conference and Award, which holds by the weekend. Many thanks for being a part of the show for this morning. And as we go on the show, we must say a very big thank you to all of our viewers who have sat back to watch, and we do appreciate you. My name is Justin Akadonye. Business Insight returns to your screen same time next time. Bye for now.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Sometimes when we see celebrities either on social media, television, or in person, we assume they have it all together, but we forget that they're also human. Well, here are some of the low points of some of your favorite celebrities.
As a young person growing up, I have had to sell akamu on my head. On a tray. You go like in the morning, like very early in the morning before I go to school. Buy akamu, That's why you should never underrate anyone. No matter the situation, you see them or you find them. When I go to UK and had to play at the Rio Festival Hall with Miriam Makeba, then, oh my God, I'm like, that akamu selling girl. That was selling akamu. So be inspired. Be inspired. Follow your dream. Follow your heart. Sit back and say, what is my passion in life? What can I do to better the world? And before you know it, you're already making an impact.
When I came to Lagos here after school, I remembered I entered what is called 911. 911 is a kind of lorry found then that they will load Gary, load at the back. Then in between the driver and the loads will have what is called second class. And that is where I sat. And could you believe that by the time I got to Ido and I came down, my box, my shoe, because it took us 3 days from Bender, from Midwest to Lagos, all my loads were loaded. You see, when you pass through such, and when you become somebody, you look back and you look at what people are going through, it makes you to help others.
When I decided to be an apprentice photographer, we were living in Ibutimeta, and I would trek, from Ibutimeta into Willoughby, from Willoughby into cross the Leventis into Ido Road, past Ido railway station, go across the Kata Bridge, and then into Agbogbon, into Broad Street. And I trekked that for 1 whole year. And then finally, when I got to London, I had to be a cleaner, every morning. Get out of the house by 4:30 to clean till 9 a.m. and then rush off to school. So I've done quite a lot of things like that, and I still continue to do that. And so for me, it is part of one's development. And I didn't see that I was suffering. Occasionally, you want to stop. You have cried many times. I've failed many times, but I've just got up. I get up again. A lot of people, I enjoy goodwill of some people who pull me up again and help me on my feet, and then I go on.
I finished that film and I became very famous. As young as I was, I didn't even know what it was. Everybody would just be calling me over. I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? When the film was all over the place. So I couldn't go to the market. And I used to go to the market a lot, to go and buy all these second-hand, all the second-hand outfits. And then there was one day I went to the market with a couple of my friends, and I just realized that I just couldn't buy these things anymore, because they would tease me. The market, the people in the market, the traders will always tease me and said, so you see, they come buy Pendam Boutique, So that made me realize that, so if I become a star, there are a lot of things I won't be able to do, or what? So I went back and I said to myself, is this how I'm going to live my life? I won't be who I want to be. I won't be myself. And I said, no, I won't let that catch up with me. Just be who you are, no matter your craft, no matter how high you think you've become. Still be that same person that the girl next door, still the girl or the boy next door that people can always relate to.
Hi, from Berlin, Germany. There seems to be a conversation going on around within young people. And there's an entire group that think young people need to review bride price payment. What are the gender roles for women in a family unit? What does religion say? How should society respond to these conversations, especially as it concerns women? You have to listen to our debaters and hear what they have to say, the for and the against.
Hello there from Berlin, Germany. My name is Mercy Abba. Welcome to today's episode of Matasada Imani. We will be talking about gender roles as it affects young people in Nigeria. What does it mean to be female in Nigeria? In 2015, if I recall, women in Nigeria used the hashtag on Twitter to share their experiences of everyday gender discrimination. Across the world, women juggle work with family and care for responsibilities, and Nigeria is no exception. On today's episode, I have guests in the studio. I am not physically present with them there because I got in close proximity with someone who contacted positive to COVID. Even though I tested negative, I am staying away for the safety of everyone there. I'd like to introduce my guests. I'll start with Pius Ibrahim Onoja, who is a PhD student in Germany. Hello, Pius.
Hello.
Pleased to see you.
Same here.
And there's Kola Akintola. He's also an MBA student in Berlin. Hello, Kola.
Hi, Messi.
Thank you for coming. I have Abubakar Bello Ismail. He is a Nigerian student as well in Germany.
Hi, Messi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. And we have Victoria Esen. She's also an MBA student in Berlin.
Hi, Messi.
Before we introduce our colleagues, we're going to start with the conversation with our guests in the studio. Let's talk about patriarchy. This is an issue that concerns women, but more often than not, it comes off as though it's a conversation that sees the other gender being on the defensive. I am excited that we have more men in the studio to talk about this. Perhaps I'll start with Kola. Why is it, can you just, in your own assertion, explain what it means to be female in Nigeria? I know you're a man, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Messi. Based on my experience back in Nigeria, to be precise, I was living in the southwest part of Nigeria, Lagos and Ibadan. So to be a female in Nigeria, though the role is evolving, traditionally females are known to be having a supporting role in the society in Nigeria. So like husband and wife, so you are meant to support your husband. The husband is the head of the house, but due to westernization and how the influence of social media, we started seeing what is coming, because Nigeria, we are largely being influenced by what is going on in America. So we started shifting the roles. So women are taking their place in the society, in the corporate world. We started seeing women into leadership position in Nigeria. But those are educated women, but in terms of those are not educated, that are not in the middle class. So the role is still largely based in terms of male are still largely domineering in terms of what they expect, because there are some things that are expected of women in Nigeria to do, like support your husband, or look after your children, and so on and so forth. So largely they are like second fiddle in terms of how people see them in the society back then in Nigeria.
Thank you, Kola. Pius, I listened to Kola's talk and he kept saying, see them. Like it's a gender that is them. Interesting. But I'll take it up with you. Do you think a woman is a second fiddle?
No, I don't think so. I think basically the issue with Nigeria and the relationship between the man and the woman are placed in the society in Nigeria is based on education. The educational system of Nigeria, one, education, two, I would attribute it to religion. Because of the dynamic nature of the religion aspect in Nigeria, some religion accept the role of human showing herself, coming forward to speak the truth, to say the truth whenever she pleases, while others or other religion believe that no, this should not be. Woman is not supposed to talk when the man is talk. While traditionally, again, the woman is not expected to talk when the man is talk. So based on these three factors, the women found themselves in that position whereby they have to fight to get their place in the society in Nigeria. And the major issue there now is how they place themselves in that level that the society will appreciate them, we see them in the light, not being, because right now, so religion will tell you that, no, she's trying to overrule me, she's trying to dominate me, she's trying to take my place as a man, she's trying to take my place as a father, she's trying to take my place as a manager. But all this is based on education, civilization. If the educational system in Nigeria is balanced and people are well educated, then each person will know his place in the society.
Victoria, does a woman need education for her rights to be respected and for her to, for her not to contend with issues like gender-based violence?
No, I disagree. Even if you are not educated, you are not supposed to be seen as a weaker vessel, because let me say, like 30% of Nigerians now, they still see the women as the weaker vessels.
Now, if I may chip in, Mercy, Victoria, I will tell you that in that point I will say, if you are not educated, how will you know what is right and what is wrong? You must be educated to be able to say, yes, this is my right as a woman, this is my right as a lady, I need it, this is my right, give it to me.
It is not
because if you do not fight for your right, nobody will give it to you.
But excuse me? I mean, in addition to what they are saying, I think woman doesn't need education before her right.
Thank you.
Before she express or practice her right.
Exactly.
The society should preserve or make a room for their rights.
Education. Where does she know her
like,
right?
Yeah, she needs.
She can't say her right.
Her rights needs to be reserved for her.
I think the bone of contention here is we have to go back to the fundamentals.
Now let's take it to Nigeria. In the north, you find out that if you go to the north in Nigeria, you find out that the female they are oppressed. They are oppressed in the sense. I will tell you.
Excuse me. How do you define oppression?
Oppression can be in diverse.
See, in terms of education, let me say something. Yes. I have someone, she's well educated. Yes. She did her master's. She was doing so well. Do you know her husband told her to stop working, to just take care of the house, just cook and clean? And she's educated. Why? Because she's seen as an infant.
She can fight for her rights.
Let me just make this point. In Nigeria, we are likely, 90% of Nigeria, I would say we are religious. Yeah. So if you look at culturally and religious-wise, so that we are being largely influenced by that. But if you move, so if you want to look at it, we have to look at it based on region. So if you're in Lagos, you can still say, okay, in Lagos, more people are more liberal. But if you go back to...
Why is it that so in Lagos? Because
can I just chip in something?
Yeah.
I heard an argument that suggests that in some parts of the country, or perhaps in the north, the rights of women aren't as respected as it were. Yeah. But across the country, not a northern problem, a Nigerian problem, you can also see that the issue of gender-based violence is still top in almost all the states of the Federation, even in states where the law has been passed. When it comes to implementation, when a problem that concerns a woman, even if it is violence within the home, the priority isn't placed as a human rights issue. This is where I'll probably have to ask Victoria this question. Okay. Are you, as a Nigerian woman, and if you are in Nigeria, are you scared about your life?
Not really. Because for example, based on my education, I like doing certificate programs and all that. Yet somebody told me, Vicky, all this education, you have to stop and get married and take care of your home. And what if your husband does not even want you to work? That's most of the mentality in Nigeria. That's why I said 30% of Nigerian men are still thinking that way. They believe as a woman, your role is in the kitchen. Your role is just to take care of the children, not to be in the society, not to take up higher positions. So it is still existing in Nigeria, education or no education.
I agree with her, and we still have to go back to based on region.
All is still based on education and religion. The three factors I mentioned in the first place. I mentioned religion, I mentioned education, and I mentioned the other, I will now call it society factor as well.
Talking of the education part of it,
yes,
I think, education is an added advantage for the woman to know her right.
Thank you.
But she doesn't need education before her right is respected.
Thank you.
All religion provides, how women should be respected, how man should take care of his
own. Education is not per se for the woman alone. It's for the both.
That is what I am saying.
It's for the both
an added advantage
now,
for her to know her
right. The man is well educated, what is good and what the lady should get, because they say if you train up a woman, you've trained a nation. Why is it so? Because they believe that she has the tendency of grooming the children to the expected stage in the society.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Yes.
Okay, there's a friend of mine. He was doing so well. Before he got married, the wife was also working in an oil company. And people that work in oil company, they believe, they are influential and all that. And the moment the first child came in, just told the woman, you have to quit. You have to stop working. You have to choose either me or your job. And of course, because she's a woman, she chose her husband and stopped working. And when she stopped working, there was complaint in the house. Oh, all she does is just to watch movies, to do this one. She's not productive and all that. But you told this woman to stop working.
I understand what you were saying. I understand you can be oppressed after